Did we ding?
I don't know. Did we ding?
Don't know.
Do the ding.
We live?
Well, shall we assume we are?
Well, it's got a red light.
Let's assume we are.
Let's pretend.
Good evening,
Yay.
everybody. Welcome to episode 28. I've got written down the sheet in front of me. I don't know why I said that.
Do it again.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 28. I'm guarantee it is. Of the Ryan Nerds podcast.
Good job.
Hope you had a good Christmas and a happy New Year.
What if we don't celebrate Christmas?
Then you've got no heart or soul.
Good job.
And so, you've got now you've thrown me off my game. Look at that. You see, I knew what I was doing then. Anyway, I'm the Suffolk Graham.
Are you?
Yes.
Apparently so.
I'm sorry, I couldn't be sure. Who are you,
From
Baer?
Suffolk, and male on
Who am I,
action.
bad? I'm Bard, clearly.
E.B. Baer.
From every pub in town.
Don't tell him, Bard.
What your name, Bard? And I'm Skazz.
Excellent. So we're back again. Thank you for joining us again. Hope if you found us, if not, maybe not, maybe, possibly.
So if you're not watching us,
Sorry.
yeah.
So, show me.
How are you listening to? How are you hearing this if you don't know we're here?
There might be a mental
Still.
person and they might be receiving messages. I don't
Well,
know.
they're receiving they're picking up the podcast.
We
on their
do.
feelings
We
or
do.
something.
We do.
They're not
psychically-
wearing their tinfoil today,
We
so
do.
they're getting.
We do psychically broadcast this podcast as we do it. We do that as well. In case you're wondering. Anyway, games we've been playing. Moving on before this goes too tangential. Bard, start, begin.
Begin. All right. Okay. The first game I have been playing recently is a game I acquired off the Steam sale. Big
Steam
surprise.
sale.
Only cost me about £1 and is one of the best purchases I've made in a long time. It's a game called FTL. It's been out a couple of years. I really wish I'd have bought it sooner because I didn't realise how good it actually is. I never really
really
looked.
that old.
Yeah, 2012 it came out apparently. It's had a significant
It's been on my
update.
wish list about 2 years.
It's had a significant update since, though, apparently. I've got a friend who loves this game and says that it's been improved vastly recently.
How old is Pong then?
Pong.
Yeah.
Oh, that was done in the 1830s, was it? 1820s?
Wait, so what year are we in?
We are the year of our
I thought
Lord,
it was the
2014.
1600s.
Actually, we'll come on to Pong later.
King Canute playing Pong. Look.
We will come on to Pong later.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Back to FTL. Basically, the neat thing about this game that appeals to me a little bit that I didn't realise until I looked it up is it was inspired by tabletop games. The guys who made it wanted to sort of try and translate a tabletop style game to a virtual format, which has been done obviously before in some ways. And to be honest, playing it does feel a little bit like that. It's interesting. It's like a roguelike in space. Does anybody know what a roguelike is?
Yes.
Yes. Well, like the game, to explain for anybody who doesn't know, it's like the game Rogue. So it's you'll basically be going up against impossible odds, and you just keep replaying. It's a game where you'll play again different each time.
It's all random generation.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, like that. It's all randomly generated stuff, and it's a game that it on the surface it looks complex, but it isn't. It's one of those games which is surprising that when you pick it up, it's more simplistic than it looks. But it does have a fair bit of depth to it. I think it's just the depth is a lot more simplistic than it first appears. So what you'll do is at the beginning you'll pick a ship. You only have one to begin with though, so good luck picking because you have to have that ship. But eventually you unlock more.
What if I don't want that ship?
Well, that's tough. You got to use that bloody ship. The
Can I
ship
not-
is called the
Can I
Kestrel.
go out? Can I go in a spacesuit?
You can't go out in a spacesuit. No.
We don't want to play that game then.
Well, tough.
What? Now we have to play it.
You've got to play it. If you don't play it, bad things will happen because the OCD says so. But yeah. Anyway, you start off with a ship. You pick this ship because it's the only ship you've got. So you got to bloody pick it. You've
Making
got
it sound like you've got a choice.
You've got a crew of 3. You start off with the
So you
first.
gonna pick them, or they one of those?
You can pick that. You can name them. You can name the ship actually as well. You can change the
If
ship's
you
name.
choose not to have a ship, do you just fly around in space?
No, the game just doesn't work. Blue screen of death at the end. But yeah, you have this ship that you have to pick.
Is it a sailing ship?
It could be. It could very well be. In somebody's delusional mind, it probably is.
Sailing through space.
Space Vikings.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah,
Is that the sequel to Space Barbarian?
it is. Space Vikings is the sequel to Space Barbarian about his son. I guess.
Random.
Oh yeah.
That explains everything. So you pick a ship which is automatically named the Kestrel, and then you have a crew of 3 humans, and you can change their genders and their ethnicity, which doesn't really matter because they're tiny little pixelated characters. Like the game is proper retro looking. It's like an overhead pixel view of,
It is
of
important
things.
because people will cry if you don't have choice.
Yes. So you've got your 3 teams, 3 crew members you can name, and you start off with your ship. You get like your little overview of your ship. So you see the ship from above, and you can see all the different sections of the ship. So you've got like you've got sort of like your hangar area and your where your blast doors are, which you can open and kill your whole team if you so wish to do so. Because you can manually control all your doors, so you can open and close doors one at a time, or you can open all of them at once, which is interesting, and I shall get into that a little bit later.
You control your crew.
You can move your crew
Needs
around.
to go to the toilet, locks door.
Funny enough, there are
I
no
don't
toilets
know.
on these ships,
I
believe it
like
or not.
you.
Just take a shit out of the airlock, innit? Like, you know.
Just press against the airlock.
Shit, my intestines seem to be floating into mid-space, but yeah, whatever. So yeah, you've got these little areas, and they all do different things in the ship. Like you've got a med bay, which is where you'll put crew when they're injured, and they will slowly heal over time. You've got a like the engine room, which if you've got a person manning that, your ship will be able to move better and have better evasion skills. You've got like a cockpit, and that basically does the same thing. And you have the ability to jump into light space. So you'll do that. The only way you can do that is by having a crew member in the engine and the cockpit. So when you're going to do that, you have to have them there. You've got your weapons room. So if you're using when you're in combat, you have to have a person man at that room. Then you've got like door control, camera control, so you can see what's actually going on in all the rooms, and your oxygen room, which is obviously very important because if that goes down, you're fucked. But yeah. So you got your 3 crew members, and they start off with no skills, but as they do different things, depending on where you put them in the ship, they'll gain skills and become better at what they do. You move around you'll start off like in one area, getting the sort of basic overview of your ship, and then you'll jump to light space, which is like a little button on the screen. You can jump doing that, and then it'll bring up a map, and the map will show you all the different little locations, and you've got to make your way to the exit area, which is to jump to the next level. But to get there, you have to go through you have to sort of light speed travel to different points. So rather than actually traveling, you're really just sort of clicking on an area, dealing with what happens in that area, and then assuming you don't die, which on your first playthrough you probably will quite early, you move to the next area. So when you move to an area, any one of many different things can happen. You could end up finding pirates and getting into a fight. You could get a distress signal and have kind of a choose your own adventure thing where it'll be like, oh, do you want help? Yes. If you do, then you might have a couple of options. Depending on what happens, you might lose a crew member, or you might gain some items or something. The ship, I will note, has to have stock. So you've got like missiles, fuel, and repair parts. Repair parts are kind of what you use when you come to a shop. You can use them to repair your hull, or you can use them to upgrade your ship in different ways, which is interesting. So you can upgrade any one area of your ship, or you can upgrade your hull. All the basic, simple sort of roleplay tropes, and Luke's laughing at something.
I'm just making more work. It's all right.
Oh, awesome. I do like Captain Harlock. Very cool. Wicked. I do like Space Pirate Captain Harlock, and that links in very well here because one of the things you will come across is Space Pirate, and that brings me. Cool. Nice one, guys. Thank you very much. When you come into contact with enemy ships, you will go into combat mode. And the idea being that you have a shield, your enemy has a shield, and you can bypass the shield by using your laser cannons. So your laser cannons will attack enemy shields. If they pierce them, they will then attack the ship. You choose which area of the ship you want to attack at any given time. Once you've done an attack, your weapon will slowly reload over time before you can fire it again. You will then have missiles. Unlike the lasers, which you can use infinite amounts of, you have a select sort of number of missiles, which you can gain more of. So the idea then being choosing where to target. Now, big hint here, an obvious tip for anybody who would kind of figure it out anyway, is you want to attack your opponent's shield. That's the best thing to do when you're fighting an enemy ship. The best room to hit is the shield room, because it'll bring their shields down and you can just wreck them. But when you defeat a ship, assuming you don't die in the process, which, as I said, might well happen because this game is a bit tricky to begin with, you might then unlock some extra gear, so that you'll get more missiles, more fuel, more repair parts. As you're sort of traveling through these different areas and encountering different things, you might acquire new crew members, which are interesting because as you start off with 3 humans, you can then get other races. You've got like these creatures called the Engi, which are, well, they're not creatures, they're more robots, and they have particularly good engineering skills. You've got there's an alien species that are pure energy, and they're interesting because obviously all your different rooms run on power, have like power levels. You've got a sort of limited power level to begin with that can be upgraded. But if you've got one of these fellas in your room, you don't have to put so much power into that room. You can relocate it to other areas of the ship because they will power that room just from being in there, which is quite useful. And there's about 5 or 6 other different races that all affect your ship in different ways and give you different bonuses. One thing I did like is when you get attacked, sometimes the damage will cause your ship to catch fire. And you can send your guys in to put the fire out, and they'll use like little fire extinguishers, but they take damage while they're doing it. So in the middle of a fight, it can be a pain having to move your crew around and sort of have them taking damage while they could be manning different stations on the ship. But something I discovered purely by accident or just fiddling around, which I thought was pretty cool, is I was thinking, well, I want to put these fires out. What can I do to do it better than using my crew and losing their health? And what I did is I moved them into the front part of the ship, opened the blast doors, and opened all the other doors that led to those rooms, and that put the fire out instantly. I thought, that's really cool. Just from like letting all the oxygen out of the ship or out of that area of the ship, you can start the fire of oxygen and put it out. And the game's full of little things like that to just make it, give it like a little puzzle element, I suppose. And I don't know, it's a really addictive game because obviously
it sounds like Star Trek the game.
It kind of is, yeah. I mean, that's an apt way of describing it. Actually, it does play like a sort of Star Trek sim. That is what it felt like. And the group that you're working for is called the Federation, and you're being pursued by rebels, and you fight sort of rebel ships and come into contact with different aliens and stuff like Star Trek. And you can play diplomatically or aggressively. So when you come across enemy ships, you can engage them, or you can just avoid them, or you can parley with certain ships, like you'll come into contact with, and they may message you, and you can sort of try and talk your way out of combat. And them, that doesn't all happen too often, but when it does, it is quite a nice little touch. I've not got past the 4th area yet. I think I've jumped into 4 different areas and then been taken out. So there's probably a fair bit of the game to explore as of yet. There's lots of stuff I haven't come into contact with yet. From the sort of few hours I have played of the game, I've come into contact with quite a lot, and I just never tire of playing it. It's a game I will constantly replay because obviously it's built around replayability. You run a sort of a game for about 10-20 minutes, then die. Then instantly you're going to want to restart and play another one just so you can unlock more stuff. Because the further you get, more ships you unlock, more other things you'll unlock for your ships. It's a pretty cool game. Definitely, one to check out for how cheap it is. I mean, even off the sale price, I think it's about £2 something. It's not. I
think it's $5.99 normally.
Is it?
Yeah.
It might be on sale at the moment then, because it was a couple of quid last time I checked. So, but yeah, like Nick said, it does have a very Star Trek feel to it.
Another way I've heard described is basically it's a bit like it's very similar. Someone's very similar to XCOM, where there's a lot of freedom and a lot of customize your crew, you can customize your people, and
yeah, kind of. I wouldn't say so much as XCOM, but yeah, I suppose in some ways it is. And the fact it's sort of semi turn-based / real time, which is quite nice. It does give you a little bit of freedom in combat, which is good. Yeah, I really like it. I can't believe how much I like it. I wish I'd have picked it up sooner, to be honest with you. It is one of those games that I heard other people mention in passing. I just thought, well, you know, might just be another fairly decent indie game, but no, it's definitely a game. Aesthetically, it's a nice game as well. It's got fantastic soundtrack, very, very good music, definitely very relative sort of spacey, retro-y feel to it. Yeah, no, definitely one to pick up. I think it could appeal to pretty much anyone. Yeah, I wouldn't really say it just specifically targets any specific audience. It's something anyone could play and enjoy. Yeah, definitely recommended.
Excellent. Well, I found over Christmas, I found myself a nice little older game, a game which I think sort of, well, I was actually surprised when I mentioned it to Skazz. He hadn't heard of it initially when I mentioned it before. It's a game I found on GOG.
Okay.
It's a game I haven't played for many years. It's a game called Project Eden. Have you heard of it? No? Yes, one person.
The name rings a bell.
Project Eden was made by Core Design.
Did this game come out on the PlayStation 2 by any chance?
Did indeed. And it had some nice features. It had,
you could play as 4 different characters?
Indeed, you could. And it had drop-in, drop-out multi. It had instant drop-in, drop-out multiplayer. So your friend could come along, you can play in the game. They could pick up the second controller, hit the start button. That's it. They're in the game with you.
That's pretty cool.
And then they could, if later on it's like, oh, I've got to go now, mate, they could just leave the game and go away, and then you just carry on. You just take control of the characters. You switch characters at will. So, Project Eden, it's primarily a puzzle game, I would say.
Really?
Has got combat in it. The combat is crap.
I was going to say, I remember looking at it years ago and thinking it just looked like a third-person shooter game.
It
so
looks like
it,
it, but actual fact, the actual way you play it, the whole point is you've got 4 characters. You've got Cart, who's like your leader. His special ability is he can talk to people.
Great.
Right, especially his go. He's the only person, if you have to interview a suspect, he's the only one who can go up to him. Anybody else goes and sort of says hello. He'll go say, right, what did you see? And he can also open special doors. So he's got very technical ability. You've got a cyborg called Amber, and she's like this huge. She's like sort of 1.5 times the height of all the other people, and she's massive thing. And she was actually a young girl, got caught and a horrific accident, and so she got turned to a cyborg. But she's immune to any environmental damages, so she can like walk through fire or steam, and she won't hurt. It won't affect her at all.
It's a bit better than just being able to talk to people and open doors, I suppose.
A little bit. You've then got Monoko, and she is the sort of resident computer hacker, so she can hack computers, which is useful because they sort of turn things on and
not very good at walking through fire. Or...
No, she can't walk through fire very well.
She can access Windows.
Then there's yes, she can open the run command on Windows. And then there's Andre, who's
Office.
Yeah.
Hey.
Then there's Andre, who's your engineer, and he can basically he can also mainly repair things.
He can whack on a spanner and stuff.
Yeah, well, no, he's a multi-tool.
He fixes the doors so other people can walk through them.
Yes, he does.
He stops the fire that people are trying to walk through.
Yes, he does actually. So the whole point is you navigate your way through levels.
Well, the cyborg woman must be pretty pissed. Thanks, that renders her useless.
She can go through it because in all situations where there's a fire or steam coming in a game, the valve to turn off is always the other side of it. It's never on your side; it's all the other side of it.
Then what good's the bloody engineer?
Well, she can
is
go
he there to repair her?
Yes. No, you can't do it. I mean, it's got some nice features about it. I mean, for starters, you can't actually die in the game.
Repair her. Wow.
You can't die in the game. There's these they call them regen points, and they're basically as you walk past, they tag you, and if you
die,
a
wrench in your pocket? Are you pleased to see me? Sorry.
As you hit these regen points, if you die,
you say that was a child.
No, I thought she had an accent when she was a child, and now she's a woman who is.
She's fully. Yeah. And when I say a child, I meant like sort of 17 type age. So she wasn't like.
That's not a fucking child.
It's below 18. It's legally not a child. It's legally a child. By UK government standards, she's a child. Get with the
well, hang on. Wait, she was a child when she had the accident, though, wasn't
she's
she?
now older now.
She's now a woman, yes?
She's now a woman.
She's now a lady in her prime with mecha bits and stuff.
Yeah. Sorry, I lost my power cable. Yes, she's yes. Right, okay. So leaving Adam away from his fan fiction. So
I didn't even get onto using Spanish for suspects purposes yet, but we won't even go there.
You navigate through the levels with your team. They're there to basically you have to use their abilities together to make your way and sort of. It is a puzzle game, so you have to you might have, say, for example, Minoka might have to hack something that then allows Amber to go into a dangerous pipe, but then she can then open a door that allows Andre to come repair things. It all works together. You guys get the extra tools to help you along, so you get a little rover that you can drive around. One of the multiplayer modes is rover racing. You can race rovers, but cars are really a nightmare. That rover can go and sort of do things like you can activate switches for you remotely. It's got a little gun that so it can shoot things. You also got a little flying drone which you can fly about and so forth, and sort of see areas you can't normally see, as you would with a flying drone, really. As the actual combat is rubbish. It's so clunky. It's got some really annoying features of the combat.
I imagine it would be with Mr. I can only open doors and talk to people. He
No,
wouldn't be very good in a fight, would he?
He talks people down.
Yeah,
Follow me. Shut door. Shut door. Hey, you're done.
Well, actual fact, he's got. Actually, this is something Amber also has. She's got rockets. Just so you know, she can fire rockets. Things, which is hilarious. When you fire rockets. But combat is pretty shit. It's got some annoying features. So, for example, if you aim your cursor at something and hit the fire button, because your character sort of does this pose where they sort of bend, crouch down slightly. If you're aiming at something, when you start hit the button to fire, the character will crouch down slightly and your aim will miss it in again. It's little design features like that. It's well done, guys. That's a little bit.
Features, not flaws.
Combat is crap, and it does feel like a chore when later on we have massive amounts of enemies because you can't actually die. You just get respawned. It's just like you feel like just doing a reverse meat grind. You're just constantly sending your guys into shooting through people, get killed, and then respawn, go back in again. But it's got some nifty weapons in it. So I mean, you've got weapons that slow down time. You can sort of shoot people and they'll all get slowed down by in time, and you can sort of make them easy to shoot, which is quite cool. And it's got some other nitty. It's one of the first games where I was sort of very through at the time. That actually you had when you went to first person, you could see your entire body, so you could look down and see all your bodies and move around. So it felt very physical. I think it's quite a little classic game. I really enjoyed it.
It was an early PS2 game.
Yes, it was 1999. It came out. I played it at the time with my sister. Okay. Right. For the audience, there's some there's sign language going on in the corner of the room next to us, and we're not quite sure what it is. But
somebody's watching this.
Somebody seems to understand what this means.
We've got 4. That's good.
Oh, for watching. Oh, that's right. Fair enough.
I understand completely.
Yeah. So I think it's a bit of a forgotten game. I'm actually in the process. I'm trying to do.
I'm starting to understand why it's forgotten. Shit combat. The only thing that I can think of that could fight is the robot.
Don't worry about forget about the combat. Just
I've just explained to you.
puzzle.
Door open man can use doors to hit people, but he has to convince them to move towards.
Can I just point out? It's a nice idea. All the doors slide.
He holds them there while the door goes up and down.
I mean,
If they're sliding doors, how come only he can open them? Come on.
Because they've got a purple pad next to him, and only he can open the purple pads.
Can't the android woman thing punch through them?
No.
Android woman thing. It's going to be her official name. Hello there, android woman thing.
Oh, well, there's this and that, and then the combat, you just run at them and you die. All of a sudden, I was just thinking, that sounds so much like old school Russia. Is that one next door? And just get in there and die, and then don't worry, we'll send your mates in after you.
Pretty much. No, you play it for the puzzle. I mean, me and my sister played it originally when we first had it out, and it was basically the fun of it was working out how to get through the levels.
People indoors.
Get through the levels. I mean, you've got some interesting enemies. And then at some point, you get trapped in a theme park with cannibals. What more could you want?
At some point, you get trapped in a DVLA office, and
I don't think it's got a DVLA office. It has got vehicles. I don't know if they're true. Yeah. Voice acting is terrible. Really bad. I'm sure that at some points, all the voice actors weren't in the same room when they recorded it because they don't quite work out. There's some very cringeworthy lines.
I just kind of envision this game looking like Flashback. On the
Yeah,
Amiga,
that is kind of. I wasn't thinking Flashback. I was thinking of Fade to Black. There, the sequel. That was exactly what I had in my head when he was describing it. Just the slow motion door opening and stuff. Yeah.
Oh,
Good old Fade to Black.
So there is I'm trying to do a let's play on it, but unfortunately I'm having technical issues. It keeps crashing the computer if I try and do a let's play on it. Unfortunately,
doesn't want you to broadcast the suckage.
I can. It's a good little game. Don't be cruel to it. It's just
There's a reason why it was forgotten.
It's because no one bought it. Because they looked at it for everybody looked at it for it's a third person shooter, and they played it. It wasn't very good. And in actual fact, it isn't a third person shooter. In fact, it'd be better without the shooting.
It's a third person doing normal things that people do in their daily routine
it's a third person,
except with a robot.
Third person puzzler.
So they spice it up with the robot.
You can open doors and talk to people. And Andre fixes stuff for you, like a plumber. And then we've got Android woman robot thing who can shoot rockets.
How dare you mock a nice little puzzle game? How dare you? It's all the crap stuff you play, and I just nod along thinking, yeah, it sounds okay. I think that's a load of shit.
Right, that's it. Officially, from this point on, it's no holds barred. Just remember, we cut out the fucking episode where I tore your game.
Now we could absolutely do something around my name with that, man.
I was thinking the very same thing. If we ever do,
I just like poking fun. I'm sure it's a good game. I couldn't help mocking the fact that there's a dude that opens doors and talks to people.
That is a pretty weak special power, particularly as
what was the fourth one? I've forgotten what the other one was. There's a robot, a mechanic, a door opening man.
Minoka, she's a hacker.
Oh, she hacks stuff. Right, cool.
Yeah. You can take the email.
You can take control of turrets and shoot things. Oh, does it? Oh, yeah, it lies. It says it can do. It says it can do 1920 by 1080. It can't. It says it's got. It's right. It says it has widescreen 16 by 9. But if you try and play it, it's actually a letterbox effect that then stretches on top and bottom. So you have to play in a letterbox to actually get it looking nice. Bastard. Yes, it is a bit like that. And it's got some mistakes that very early in the game.
Yeah, what's his name? Andre? Get him a fix. No, what's the hacker?
Monoko.
Fucking level her up.
Very early on the game, they tell you very early on the game, they say to you, it's got some issues with variety not matching the levels. Early on the game, the guy says, "Okay, take the elevator to the right, and the elevator's on the left." Just little things like that.
Fucking god!
It's like, yeah. I remember when we first played it, we were sisters like, "Okay, we'll go right." We sat there, we wondered, where is this bloody elevator? We can't see; it's just a dead end.
And then the characters are all sat there going, "Fuck them up." Oh god! Yeah.
But I mean, it's a fun little game. It was forgotten
because everyone thought it was a third-person shooter, not because it was bloody awful.
It isn't a bad game. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not a AAA 99% plus.
It's cool, but you have to be able to tolerate all the really annoying things about it.
The combat really lets it down. The combat is poor in it, but
the fact they told you to wait for something that was in the wrong
combat
place.
Does bog down. It does bother me that so many games have to have a combat element. Like there's certain games where it shouldn't be there, and it gets sort of shoehorned in.
I'm very much of the camp. I think I've heard people say this
in my other game.
I've heard people say this and say something. I'm actually of the same camp that I believe that Tomb Raider would be better without combat.
To some degree, yeah. Although the combat in Tomb Raider wasn't that bad.
The fun part of Tomb Raider.
Much about Tomb Raider.
The fun part of Tomb Raider.
Die. I remember that bear taking forever in the first.
The fun part about Tomb Raider was not the combat; it was the puzzle part of it, and that's the fun part, not the
exploration. Was the fun part too.
Exactly. So combat wasn't needed.
Although you still should be able to die horribly because there's always stuff trying to kill you. You got that big bloody T-Rex that always chases after you in the first one. That was quite cool. I like
Yeah.
that.
Right. So moving on. Adam's second game.
We're going on to my second game. Oh, cool. My second game is Endless Legend. I picked up 2 games. They're by the same company. I can't remember the company's name for the life of me. I'm sorry. But it's a French studio, and they made 3 games that all...
Is it a game where you surrender all the time?
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. I said it was just a French game. It's not French-Italian joint game. But yeah, anyway. It's a 4X game.
So you surrender, but you have got pizza. That sounds a benefit.
And plumbers. Although he's a Japanese character, yeah, he's Italian. Plot twist. But yeah, it's a 4X game in the same vein as Civ and those kind of games. Alpha Centauri, you know the like. But there's two games I picked up: Endless Legend and Endless Space. I'll talk more about Endless Legend though, because I haven't really played much of Endless Space. But the reason I picked them up to begin with was I liked them aesthetically. I looked at sort of the artwork for the game and some of the cutscenes, and just the general look of the game and the design of some of the stuff made me want it. Like, I don't normally go for games based on stuff like that, but I really liked it. Do you remember the
what the fuck's wrong with you? What's happened?
well, do you remember the cutscene in Thief? The first Thief, Nick?
Oh yeah, the
which
beautiful
was-
cutscenes.
Yeah, the comics book style cutscenes, the graphic novel style.
Yeah,
These games have them.
those cutscenes don't age; they still
No,
look good
and
now.
they do in this game. It's very artistically beautiful looking. It's just a damn fine looking game. Some of the stuff in it, but I wanted a 4X game to play as well because I haven't played one in ages. And us talking about Alpha Centauri made me want to sort of pick it up. My only gripe being that with 4X games, I do love them, but I'm hopelessly bad at them. Like I get lost in them. There's just too much
Yeah.
stuff happening sometimes for me. This game is a little bit better, and it does thin that out a bit, which I'll get onto in a little while. But what it is basically, it's a 4X game in the style of Civ, and it's set in like a medieval fantasy sort of world that has a few sort of scientific things in it, sci-fi things, which is interesting because Endless Space is like the other games, like Masters of Orion. Do you remember that game?
Yes.
4X game in space. The games are linked in that they're set in the same universe, but the planet in
space.
well, yeah, but the planet that Endless Legend is set on is because it's all in the same mythology, Nick, to break it down. Yeah, the whole story, the story of the Endless, which are like the gods of this civilization that have abandoned it, apparently, have abandoned the universe and left things behind, which is mentioned sort of in Endless Space. In Endless Legend, it's a planet within that universe that hasn't been discovered by the other planets. So it's like a planet that's still in its sort of medieval stages, which I thought was quite cool. I kind of like the fact that it was all set in the same universe, but from just a planet that had been undiscovered by the others as of yet.
That sounds very similar to the Warhammer universe. Because
Yeah, pretty much.
the
that
Warhammer
kind of thing.
planet, the world of Warhammer takes is meant to be in Warhammer 40k.
Yeah,
As a planet somewhere.
yeah, that they haven't discovered yet. That's the general idea. But yeah, it's a 4X game. You've got 8 different races to choose from that are all very different. And this is what kind of attracted me towards it, because I like the idea that you've got these 8 races that are not only aesthetically different, but that play very differently. The one that I'm playing to at the moment is called the Draken, and they're like lizard men, but they are the diplomatic race. They're all about peacefulness and peace treaties and allying with all the other different factions and getting along with people and playing nice. Then you've got the Broken Lords, and they're kind of interesting. They're like chivalrous knights, or they were, until their society was corrupted, because the general mercantile of this game, rather than having say gold or money, you have this stuff called dust, which is what they trade with. And dust is also, it's not corrupting as such, but it mutates things around it in different ways, like it changes things. And these guys, unfortunately for them, became quite addicted to it. And it's the essence of it is an all living thing. So they started taking the life force from people, draining it and feeding off it like sort of vampires. So there's that kind of conflicted with the fact that they were supposed to be chivalrous. And eventually they kind of tried to control this. And so they're kind of like a lost people. They're now no longer human. They exist as like constructs. They're kind of like trapped in suits of armor. They just like live in essence in suits of armor. So they're an interesting one.
Thousand Suns.
Yeah, pretty much. And then you've got like an Arabic style people, like you've sort of got, because there's a few different human factions, and then you've got the other sort of species. But you've got these Arabic style guys that are traders, and all of their thing is basically built up on mercantile and trading and that kind of thing. And then yeah, you've got like all these other different races and different peoples, and they all play the game differently. But the one thing I liked about it over Civ is you've got minor factions, which are smaller factions of different creatures and different peoples that you can assimilate into your own faction. While you discover their towns, you can attack them, you can bribe them, or if you've got the right research, you can parlay with them. And if you parlay with them, they'll basically give you a task. You do that task for them, and then they'll join you, and then you can gain wealth and units from them, which I thought was kind of cool. I like that aspect of it. You can still do that from destroying them, of course, but it means that if you're subjugating them, you then have to wait for them to rebuild. But yeah, I kind of like that aspect of it, because I was looking for something that had a bit more, I don't know, with Civ, do you not find it a little bit empty in some respects?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I know what you mean. It can
There's
feel...
not much lore to it, and the world feels a bit dead, doesn't it?
In order to make it very free from the fact that you can do whatever, it's not a very good story generator.
No.
Whereas like some other sort of Forex games, it does tend to it does. I mean, a lot of Forex have the issue. I mean, Gauss is one I could say that it tends to generate stories, but Total War doesn't.
Yeah.
For example, like it's you play it, but it doesn't really generate stories. The only one I think that might do somewhat is things something like Crusader Kings, if I could ever figure out how to play the game.
Well, these games do just that. They generate stories, and the interesting thing is each faction has its own mission, and you go through it by hitting objectives. So you'll start out, you'll get a little bit of story about the faction and why they've got a certain objective. You'll have to then do that objective, and once you've completed that, you'll get another one, then another one, then another one, and those on top of the other objectives you'll be unlocking through helping other factions or just playing the game in general. Kind of give the game a little bit more structure, which is something I think that 4X games need in some way, because it is easy, especially when you're new to a game like that, to get lost in, isn't it? I mean, take Alpha Centauri, for instance. Brilliant game, absolutely love it. But my God, does it take a lot of learning just to figure out how to play it. And
it's not so much the learning of the game. It's how good the interface is.
yeah,
And Civ games in general, Alpha Centauri particularly, has a really bad
it
interface,
does, yeah.
which makes it very confusing what on earth is going on.
This game has a brilliant interface. It's very streamlined, but it's not streamlined in such a way to make it linear. I mean, you still have all the freedom you would have had in any other kind of 4X game, but you've just got a little bit more direction in what you're doing and how you're going about it, which I thought was quite cool. Especially for somebody like me that gets a bit lost when there's too much stuff going on.
My sort of litmus test for a strategy game is, if there's a problem with my society somewhere, how easily can I figure out what's wrong with it?
Yeah. See, this game,
if I can figure out what the problem is quite quickly, then it's been well designed, because it means the interface is set. Whereas sometimes in Civilization and Science at the Early Towards a good example of this. Also, your economy crashes, you have no idea why.
Yeah.
And you could spend a long time trying to figure that out.
You don't have so much of that worry with this game. It will you will kind of see what you're doing, and it does kind of show you. It gives you little hints and stuff on things as well. Like,
been asked a question: is the game an RTS?
No. There is combat in the game though, but the combat isn't real time. It's turn based. You basically will have, whereas like say the Total War games, when you go into combat, you have sort of real-time strategy battles. In this, what will happen is you'll come to contact with a unit that you intend to fight. When you fight, it goes into a grid-based combat. But the thing is, you don't have direct control of your units. This is what makes this interesting. I'm not sure if it's a good thing for everyone. Some people will prefer it. A lot of people won't like this. But when you go into combat, you have directions you can give your units, and that's it. They will do what they want to do and follow your basic directions, which is you can put them on offense or defense.
That sounds quite cool.
Kind of tell them who to target, and then they'll go about doing it in their own way.
That's quite cool. That sounds like the
reason I liked it is because with these games, I find combat does not tend to work so much. The thing that put me off the Total War series and why I didn't like it, but obviously other people will enjoy this, it just doesn't work for me, is that I found it a bit jarring moving from having sort of basic kingdom control to going into combat and then it turning into a fully fledged combat game. That kind of it felt like too much for me to take in. Like I'd either rather play one or the other.
To its credit, you can ignore that completely and just say,
Total War games are great games. Yeah,
you can get to fight the battle for you. You often do better if you do it yourself.
Sometimes,
but once you get your generals up high enough level, they do better than you, and you might as well just let them do it.
You can do that here as well. I mean, you can completely skip the whole planning phases and stuff and just have it so that it auto resolves, which is kind of useful. But this is where I'm going to say my only real gripe of the game that I don't like about these kind of games is sometimes I want to just play diplomatically. They always force you to engage in war. You always have to have some sort of combat. And this game does that. And I didn't think it would. And I was a little bit disappointed in that because I picked this race specifically because I played as a different race to begin with, just when I was fiddling around with it. And I liked them because when I came into contact with them, they're the only race that will start speaking to you on a peaceful term. And if you start parlaying with factions and doing missions for them to get you to join you, rather than attacking them or bribing them, they start expressing that they find that admirable and they become quite sort of trusting of you. And I thought that's kind of neat. Normally these games aren't like that. Normally it'll just be all out, everybody trying to dick each other over, you know. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I started playing through as them, finding that they had more diplomatic abilities, which I thought, yeah, this will be a nice chill game. I'll just sit and just chill out and play it. And then it started to go into talking to factions, and the only thing they ever asked me to do is attack another faction for them. I don't really want to do that. I was just kind of trying to avoid combat. And then I was progressing through their story missions, and then it starts giving you army-based stuff. And I was just like, oh, you know, I can't be bothered. I want to just go through and play the other strategy side of the game and just building up my cities and dealing with all that kind and the commerce and stuff, rather than having to get into the combat, which annoyed me a little bit. But overall, of all the 4X games I've played, I'll say it's probably the best. It's better than Civ because it has more to it. Like as we said, there's a sort of more lore. Aesthetically, it's way more pleasing. Feels like you're actually part of a living, breathing world rather than just a basic simulation using historical figures. Yeah, I don't know. It's a game that if you're into these kind of games, you're definitely going to like. But even if you're not, it might well be worth checking out. Just based on the aesthetics of it, it's a really nice looking game. There's so much backstory and stuff to it, which I thought was very neat. There's lots to uncover. The game has a lot of emphasis on exploration, so it's not just all about building stuff up and fighting. You will be sort of exploring the map, finding different things out, uncovering stuff. I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, I don't know. Out of all the sort of 4X games I've played, it's been the one I've found to scratch that itch better than any of the others, other than Alpha Centauri, which will always be possibly my favourite, even though the interface is terrible.
That is awful interface.
But the lore is fantastic in that game, which is another thing here. That though you have sort of specific leaders, and the armies do feel like they're or the civilizations do feel very different. I did like the fact that Alpha Centauri's leaders had personality, which is a little lacking here, and definitely lacking in a lot of 4X games. I'd kind of like to see another.
The trouble with Civ and Total War, the reason that they're like that, in my opinion, is the fact that because they are set on Earth or in history, you are sort of restricted by what you've got. Whereas once you say in space, who gives a damn?
Yeah,
you can do what the hell you
I
like.
have to admit, but I think
you can have a whole race of like sort of, you know, sentient cucumbers if you really want.
I think what's missing from some of these games for me that I'd really like to see sort of in a 4X game is sort of a role play element, like with diplomacy. I think it would be interesting to have kind of choices and RPG kind of mechanics added to it, if you see what I mean.
You might want to give Galciv a go.
I wouldn't mind picking up
because
Galciv,
you do get choices in diplomacy, and you can do research in diplomacy, which does make you better at it.
Yeah,
support people like you, Soma, and obviously how it's how people see you.
See, you kind of get that here, but on my playthrough so far, I mean, I might be missing something. I haven't gone really in depth into the game yet, so maybe that will uncover it in time. But because I was playing diplomatically, my main city was really good. Like, I had all top-notch research because I was focusing more on research than building units. All my people that lived there were happy, and everything was working out quite nicely. I looked at the diplomacy screen, and all the other kingdoms looked at my kingdom in a mocking way, even though their kingdoms were worse. They had expanded more, but they didn't have as much tech, and their people weren't as happy as mine. And I just thought, well, that's a bit shit, you know. Like, surely they should be, maybe they should be looking at me mockingly from a military perspective and an expansion perspective.
It should be personality based. So if it's a race that favors technology, they might look at you. They could look at you like, I'm quite in awe of you. You've got good technology. You're better than me, but I'm a technology focused race.
Yeah.
If you got a race that favors expansion, then they probably would look at you mockingly because like that dude's out there, he hasn't bothered to expand.
See, and this was interesting because I played diplomatically as a different faction, and the lizard people responded well to that. But then playing as that faction and doing it, it doesn't seem like there's any other faction that responds to it, and it just seemed a little bit of a letdown.
Do you think that all the factions, despite having different unit types and so forth, actually all use the same AI, so there's no variation? Whereas I'm going to bring Gauss up again, that the AI is tailored to each race, so that they all act differently.
I mean,
I wonder if that
it's
might be a problem.
maybe because that race is the only race I've seen act differently. The others don't seem to really do that. I mean, maybe if I sort of get a bit deeper into the game, that will happen and will unfold. I'll have to sort of flashback onto that when I play it a bit more, because it is a very demanding game. I mean, I've been playing one game for bloody ages now, just once. Well, you know how Civilization goes. You can play for hours and still just be on the same game. So maybe if I keep going and I manage to complete my first playthrough eventually, I'll sort of have a bit more detail on that. But like I say, as far as 4X games go, it's absolutely beautiful looking, a stunning looking game. The art style is just fantastic. The world building aspect of it is brilliant. Everything just looks fantastic. Lots of lore to delve into. Everything's very unique. I like a lot of the designs, although like we say, sort of some of it is inspired obviously by other things. I like some of the aesthetic decisions they've made. For example, there's elves in this game, but they don't look like elves. They resemble Twi'leks from Star Wars. You remember the Twi'leks? The creatures that have like long sort of tentacle things instead of hair.
What are they from, the original Star Wars or the episode ones?
Jabba the Hutt has one as his aide.
Oh, those silly things.
Those guys, one of them is a Jedi as well. Those guys. I think she is, isn't she? They kind of look like them rather than elves, and then they kind of go from living within forests to becoming nomadic. I thought that was kind of neat. They weren't just tied into being, we are the basic elf civilization that lives in the woods. They were a civilization that lived in the woods, but have decided that as times were changing, they needed to change as well. So I thought that was kind of cool. And each of the civilizations has something like that about them, and the progressing story for each civ, I think, is quite a nice touch, that you get to find out more about the civilization as you play the game and by doing the missions and unfolding things. I think more 4X games could benefit from having that mission-based aspect to them. Having not played Galciv, though, I can't speak on that. Does that have anything like that going for it?
Mission-wise, no, because it's not like other races will give you missions. It's all down to what you do as your race. Really. It's not really got missions.
The other big factions in this one, it'll only be the minor ones that you're seeking to assimilate. Maybe it would have been better if the bigger factions would actually. Maybe if you could sort of base diplomacy around helping each other out. Might have been quite neat.
Got quite a complex diplomacy system in it. Galciv, it's got a very complicated diplomacy system in it, and you can sort of. I mean, I've had negotiations made with a computer, and it's felt
that sounds good, because I kind of, when I play these games, that's kind of the way I tend to go, because I find that, well, normally the combat's lackluster in these kind of games anyway, and if I if I want to play that kind of game, I'll go to the aforementioned RTS, because that's the kind of game that caters towards that. But
so when have you got like a lot of customization for the actual game world? So, for example, Civ, when you start, you can pick on a big game world with 4 races.
You have here. You can pick whether you want to be on like a tundra or whether you want it to be on like various different islands. You've got quite a fair bit of.
And can you pick how many? And you can pick how big the world's going
to be. How big the world is, how many civilizations there are, up to 8, I think you can have, which is the max.
Because I sometimes find the fun of version actually not having. You think, let's have everybody in there. Actually, I sometimes find it's funner when you have just 2 or 3.
It is, it can be.
Because all of a sudden, everybody gets very big very quickly. They can expand because they've got the space to, and then you get just 3 massive factions having a proper fight.
Which is quite a good thing. I'm hoping, or it looks like the game will get to the point where the diplomacy works so that you don't necessarily have to kill each other. You can end the game by just
diplomacy victory,
having a different victory, because you've got four different. You've got a thing called an empire building strategy, which resets every season. So each season you can put what you earn points from basically doing what they're like sort of value points, I think they're called. So when you're doing things to benefit your city, you get them from your people being happy and from your interactions with other civilizations, and that counts towards how many points you can put into this imperial scale. So what you'll have is it sort of extends 4 ways. You'll be able to do an imperial style one where it's more based on expansion and population growth. You'll have a militaristic one, which is more based on combat and building armies. You'll have science and research one, and then there's one that's based more around commerce and growing food and that kind of thing, which I thought was kind of neat. So it gives you a little bit of room to build your civilization as you see fit, or to basically take advantage of the season to build up on what you don't have, so that you can sort of round your empire out a little bit. I thought that was kind of a nice touch. There's quite a bit of depth to it. I mean, on the surface, it does seem more linear than some other 4X games, in the sense that it does give you a bit more direction. But when you really get into the meat and bones of it, there's a bit more going on, maybe more that I really have to delve into before I can really pass judgment on the game. But what I've seen so far, I've enjoyed, although I've had a little bit of problem with the fact that there's emphasis on combat in some respects. Outside of that, the game is really, really good. Like I say, aesthetically pleasing and mechanically very pleasing as well.
Fantastic.
Might be one to recommend for you, actually, Nick, if you seem to like these kind of games. Maybe, and maybe the Endless Space one more so, because it's sci-fi.
I do like sort of normal strategy game. I do like those as well. I do tend to
the factions in the Endless Space game are quite interesting. One of them makes me laugh quite a bit. There's one called Horatio, and it's based on Horatio is a millionaire alien, and he decides he's going to put his money into cloning technology, makes shitloads of clones of himself. It reminds me of Rimmerworld from Red Dwarf, and then decides that as he's the most beautiful creature in the universe, he should expand. So his whole race is made up of him, just multitudes of clones of him, men and women that all look like him, and are trying to take over the galaxy. I thought that was pretty funny. Seemed kind of amusing.
When you say Horatio, all I could think of is Horatio from CSI Miami now.
All I could think of was Horatio from Hamlet. But yeah, sort of having weird Shakespearean aliens expanding across the universe.
I tell thee, give me thou planet.
I haven't really played much of Endless Space yet. I'm going to sort of, well, 1-4X game is enough, as you know. But yeah, I'm going to delve into that one next and see what that's like. And hopefully that will be good too. But as I say, aesthetically already, I'm well into that. Love the look of it. Love the designs. Love the ships and everything. And it looked really cool. Yeah, I'd advise giving them a look, most definitely.
Right, on to Skazz's challenge. Do we need to remind people what the challenge is?
Right, so 2015, I'm not allowed to buy any new games until I start digging through my shrink wrap pile that's big enough to crush the town.
It's currently stored in a warehouse off-site.
Yeah, pretty much. We could build an island. You know, like how in Japan they got the old man-made land.
I'll see more Minecraft, but go on.
Okay, Minecraft. You know, we're gonna start building houses out of my game collection and stuff.
Sounds good.
I mean, we've got games going all the way back to the NES, still in shrink wrap, that we've not bothered to crack open and play yet, and I'm still buying more games. Yet I play games the least out of the lot of us. So I've got to beat 10 games. 9 random games that I can have played them before but not beaten them, or just not played them at all, like crack them out the shrink back completely. The 10th game has to be Silver Surfer on the NES.
Yes.
Good luck.
Yeah. Well, update on the challenge.
Oh.
So
are you getting good at it?
I actually almost beat Surfer.
Hey.
I got to the Magic Realm, which is the last realm in the game. So you beat the main like
that is
5 or 6
achievement.
enemies. But that last zone, holy crap. Because it's one hit death, and if you die, you lose all your power-ups. That's it, you're screwed. There's no way you can get through that zone with, minimal power-ups. So the second you die, that's it, game over. You might just reset and start again. And I've tried and I've tried and I've tried, and I just keep getting schooled by it. And the end boss looks like Mr. Sinister.
All right. Yeah.
It's just really weird.
X-Men villain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just really weird. He looks.
You'd think your
The-
boss would be Galactus, wouldn't you? But
the
being Silver
icon-
Surfer.
The icon looks like Mr. Sinister. The end character apparently does not look like Mr. Sinister at all. It looks like a golem or random jelly T-Rex thing or something. I don't know, but
Okay.
yeah, I know it's like completely off from Mr. Sinister, but still, I have actually beaten my first game of 2015.
Okay.
It's a game that you've spoken of before on the podcast, one that you recommended, one that I cracked out of the old shrink wrap pile.
Is it a Suikoden game?
No, it isn't. Although I'll be going on to
We
those
are going
later.
on to those at some point.
Shovel Knight.
Ah, excellent.
So we managed to get hold of Shovel Knight. I picked up the 3DS version because I was waiting to buy it for the Wii U or the 3DS. Most people who said they were going to wait for the Wii U version decided they were going to pick it up on the PC because the European, basically the PAL release of the European, Australian, anywhere that isn't the States release got put back until 1,000 years.
I'm so glad I got it on Steam because it came out so
Well, it
much
was
earlier
ridiculous.
on Steam.
In the States, it came out June 26th last year, and then we had to wait
That's
thousands of
stupid.
years after that to get it. But anyway, I picked it up on the 3DS, and I'm not going to go into too much about the game. It's kind of an homage to NES platformers of old.
Mega Man, Castlevania, that kind of thing.
So it's like Mega Man, DuckTales. It's all right.
I think I did review it in one of the podcasts.
So just go back and find Bard's Gush Fest over Shovel Knight. I mean, he'll
I
explain.
loved
better
it.
than
It was
can.
awesome. I love that game.
Story's pretty simple. You play as Shovel Knight. Your closest companion is Shield Knight. Your treasure hunters you go to is at the Tower of Fate or something like that.
Yeah, I think
Shield
they're
Knight.
more heroes, aren't they? And treasure hunters. They basically
Well,
just
yeah,
go
and they
around.
end up just scoring
doing
loads and loads
heroic
of cash
shit,
and
yeah.
having fun. Something goes wrong in the Tower of Fate or whatever.
Yeah.
Shield Knight disappears.
Shovel
Knight
Knight
goes into mourning. All of a sudden, an Enchantress appears.
starts
shit gets
messing
real.
with the sort of townsfolk. And yeah, he
Shovel
goes to
Knight's
defend
like, fuck
everything.
it, I'm
yeah.
going to go and, find out what the hell's going on and kick the shit out of everyone.
Has a little nemesis in the form of Black Knight, which
Yeah.
is basically like his proto man, really.
Pretty much. I have to say, initially, I didn't like it.
No?
I really, really couldn't get on with it at all.
No?
I think I played through it in 2 days. Stomped it flat. Although I have to admit, the game has one of the classic flaws of retro platformers: knockback.
Yes.
The one thing
Oh,
I
yes.
can't handle in any fucking game. Castlevania, knockback. Mega Man, knockback. You get hit when you're near a pit. That's it. You're gone. You will fly back 50 feet like you've never experienced pain.
Have you
in your
played it on
life.
New Game Plus yet?
I am doing that now.
New Game Plus is fucking annoying because of the knockback.
Yep, and
I'm-
there's
I'm
no
on-
food or anything like that.
I'm on the last level of New Game Plus, and it's a fucking nightmare because there's
last level is in the Tower of Fate. Or...
yeah, or well, not the last level because the last level's pretty much just a boss battle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where you fight. Yeah, the level before that, when you just before you fight all the knights again.
Yeah.
And there's a bit where you have to go across. Do you know the bit where you go across the chasm and you hit the little thing and it leaves the trail behind it? And you run across the trail and
I
hit it
know
again.
that bit.
And there's one of them, and it spawns a fucking propeller knight
Yeah.
in the middle, and it's just like fuck off
'Cause you
every
have to then
time.
rise the platform up,
Yeah.
it will spawn
And
and blow you straight up.
But he spawns in a different place on New Game Plus, and
Oh,
it's just
Christ.
like spawns in a point to fuck you up basically, and it will just knock you back every time. And it's fucking irritating. It really is. Yeah, it made me very angry. I nearly threw my mouse and my controller. Yeah.
See, the thing that wound me up about it was the controls. It looks good, sounds good. I didn't care much for
No.
Shield Knight or Shovel Knight. I didn't care much for the Knights of or whatever.
I liked
no quarter.
some of the nights. I thought it was quite cool.
But the controls on the 3DS were fucking awful. They felt really wonky. Just the button placement didn't
Yeah.
feel right. And the analog stick was I always default to the analog stick on the 3DS.
I have to say, it
um,
controls quite well on the PC with the 360
So
controller.
Well, do you use the D-pad though or the analog stick?
Analog stick.
Okay, cool. Well, the analog stick on the 3DS feels really kind of spongy and unresponsive.
I don't
and
like
kind of-
that.
it's
I
not
hate
very-
that stupid medieval pad that they use. Like,
It's not very nice.
get with the times. Come on.
By the end of the game, I started playing it with the D-pad. It got a bit better. But for some reason, I kept on going back to the fucking thumbstick. Like, I'd let go of the D-pad, and then somehow my thumb would drift up to the analog stick. Like, that's where my hand wanted to be. But I didn't give a shit for the game at all until the last few stages, like when you start fighting against the other knights that you've beaten before.
Yeah.
And the final battle, I won't say any of the twists or anything, because it's kind of obvious.
Yeah, it's really, really obvious.
The final battle, I was just like, fuck.
It's very cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
Fight.
At that point, it's like the last, say, hour of the game that's really awesome, really fun.
I like a lot. I mean, aesthetically, I like it. I like a lot of the town areas. The fucking minstrel knight is brilliant. You have to collect his sheets of music for him.
And so you get the full soundtrack to listen to in the game by going to the village.
Did you do the fight in the second town?
Fight in the second town.
There's a fight.
Oh yeah, you pay off all of the mooches in the hat shop, and then all of a sudden the owner
dude
of the
wants your
shop or
helmet.
whatever, yeah, he like tries to kill you to take your helmet. Like,
yeah, I
he's a
thought that was
mad
quite
hat
cool.
collector.
Yeah, I like some of the mid bosses as well. Like when you sort of come across because the crowdfunders, the ones who paid the most on the Kickstarter, got to put their own characters in. So there's 4 sort of OC characters in the game.
There was like a big old.
There's a big dude that looks like Lobo. Yeah. Big huge guy looks like him. Then there's a little ninja dude. I can't remember what the other ones are now.
There's a fencer, and I can't remember.
Yeah, the fencing guy. Yeah, he was quite cool. Quite liked him. The only one I didn't like was the little ninja guy. The little ninja guy just looked a bit too try-hard DeviantArt character for me.
Yeah, for sure.
The others sort of seemed quite. And yeah, the Lobo dude didn't really fit in very well either. But I like the fencing knight. He fits the theme of the game. I thought it was a cool design.
For sure.
Yeah. I like some of the enemy designs as well, like the basic enemies.
The game looks. Yeah, so it was an NES game, like how, or supposed to be an NES game.
You've got to love what I can't think of what he's called. I call him Swag Knight, the knight with the king's armor on and the crown in it. He's brilliant.
King Knight,
love that guy.
That's one of the first lines that actually made me chuckle was when he called him a decadent dandy, and I was like, he just called him a fag.
There's a point where do you know, like, have you unlocked all the armor?
Yes.
You know the sparkly armor.
Yes.
Did you wear it when you fought them?
No.
If you wear it when you fight them,
gold armor.
Yeah, King Knight will comment on it and start saying how great it is. It's quite funny.
I was using the diamond armor by that point. So so each different armor type will give you a different skill or whatever. The diamond armor, if you use the shovel pogo kind of thing where you like dive on the people's heads and then bounce, if you hit it twice in a row, you can then use a powerful shovel slash.
Yeah.
I preferred using that. That was my kind of move.
I didn't use any of them because I want to be hardcore, so I just use either the gold one, which doesn't do anything. It just makes you
gold armor,
flip around and stuff.
Cool.
And or the normal one, which just doesn't do anything. So
I think on the last level, I made the biggest mistake ever. I went and picked the magic absorbing armor.
Oh, dear.
Half your defense.
Yeah,
and I got absolutely curbed. So I was like, these guys are fucking nails. Then I put on my regular armor again and just beat the living shit out.
I like the knights. The knight enemies are all really quite cool. Like King Knight was my favorite, but I didn't
like him until the end. Until the end battle.
Yeah. Have you heard about the Kickstarter stuff?
No.
Plague Knight will be playable soon. Gets his own adventure. And his nemesis is the potion girl from the first town. So that'll be quite cool, seeing what will happen with them. I'm guessing plot twist, he's her father or something along those lines. It's bound to be something like that. King Knight is going to become playable, so he'll have his own story, which will be brilliant. So it'll be silly, stupid King Knight adventures, which I'm going to love. And Spectre Knight is going to become playable as well.
The hardest of the lot to beat.
Try to think now. None of them are really that tough, are they? To be honest,
they have some awkward.
The only time they're hard is when you fight them all at once. Spectre Knight.
Hard, to be honest.
Spectre Knight was a bit, on New Game Plus. They're tough, but but no, it's still cool. Like, none of them are really particularly taxing. I'm trying to think. It's been.
Who is the is it Propeller Knight or whatever?
Yeah, he's a bit. He can be quite tough, can't he?
Hated him.
I don't like
when the platform gets cut into like 3.
Yeah.
That's it.
The ice one could be quite hard as well when he starts putting spikes and stuff down.
I just used the the little green ball.
Yeah, I like the fact he's a Viking as well. I thought that was cool. And I like the fact that when Shovel Knight talks to him, he's clearly like the most honourable of all of them, and he's like, "Why have you gone with them? Like, you've lost your honour. What's going on?" kind of thing. And they have like a bit of a man-to-man discussion. I thought it was quite cool. Yeah, there's a little bit of depth in there, isn't there? Even though it's clearly just a homage to.
Yeah,
retro
I mean,
titles.
it's really thin up until the last few levels, but it was by the last few
Poor
levels,
old
I was like,
Black Knight.
bless him, bless him. I actually, no, I really started to like the characters, but only after that last fight.
Yeah,
Otherwise, the game fell really short for me. The second time I started playing through it, though, I was using the D-pad, nailed the controls. I wasn't getting killed by any more cheap kind of deaths, knockbacks. That knocked.
there are a couple of cheap bits in it where it will just screw you over, and you just, oh, fuck's sake, yeah.
Some of Plague Knight stuff. On one of the last levels on the Tower of Fate, there's a sequence. If you've played any other like old school platformer, there's always sections where you get kind of crushed by the ceiling as it like jump down and the floor will move and that, and you have to navigate through a maze. There's a section like that in the Tower of Fate, or whatever it's called. You've got like a couple of little jumping sections where you have to dodge all the enemies, and then it'll come to the kind of moving floor platforms where you can't really jump. Because you've got spikes on the floor, spikes above you. That's a few things that caught me out. I'd always be an asshole and forget. Like, I wouldn't pay attention to the environment. Pogo and hit
land on the spikes, yeah.
Fucking assholes. But in that part on the Tower of Fate, every time I got to the little bit where the ceiling was narrow and the floor was really close, so there wasn't really any room to move. You literally had to just run and get into the gaps. For some reason, I forgot the jump button worked. Every single time. I'd get to that point. I'll be like, jump, jump, jump. Oh, look, I'm here. The jump button doesn't work anymore. And I'll just fucking, And so every time I'd dip into one of the gaps, dodge the spikes, and then get crushed. Every time.
That bit is a bit annoying, that
like,
part of the game.
How come I haven't got time to do it? And I thought to myself, wait, there's a jump button. And then the second I got that, I was like, oh, wait, this is actually possible. It's not that fucking hard. It's just me being an idiot. But
I think it's because that part of the game gives you so much to think about in a small section. You've got to remember to do this, and this. It's that basic sort of old school, got to try levels over and over and over again, trial and error stuff.
I found the last few levels easier than I found, say, Plague Knight stage or Propeller Knight stage.
Propeller Knight stage and the Snow stage are a bit.
Plague Knight. It was Spectre Knight.
Oh yeah, when you have to do stuff blind because everything goes dark.
Fuck, that got on my nerves.
Yeah, that is a bit annoying.
Those two levels, I just wanted to just snap my 3DS.
The ice one can be a bit annoying as well at some point. But yeah, they're the only ones. Some of the others, most of the others are quite simple, aren't they? I like the underwater one. I think that was quite cool.
That was pretty rare. So all in, I'll say it is worth playing, kind of, but just really push through
it's definitely worth playing, 100%. I think it's better to play on a big screen now. I think that your enjoyment of the game is marred by the fact you're playing it on a portable.
The kids want to play it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of break the rule of the shrink wrap challenge and buy them the game on the Wii U.
Yeah, I'm imagining it's much better on a big screen than it is, and controls better on the Wii U than it would.
That fucking analog.
It controlled perfectly fine on Steam. I really enjoyed the Steam version. Yeah.
So play it, but just really push through it.
Definitely play it. It's awesome. It's a great game.
All the characters seem kind of thin until the very end.
Yeah.
Where you kind of get why they're being kind of dickish, and just play it. Even if you're not a fan of old school platformers like DuckTales, Mega Man, stuff like that, just play it.
I think it's a gamer's game, really, isn't it? If you've been gaming a long time, it's something you're going to enjoy because it's going to take you back to games how they used to be. It's
even though at first I didn't like the game, I like the soundtrack enough to go
and
buy it.
Awesome, man. Brilliant soundtrack. I just love the design of everything as well, like the way the levels look. I love the look of the characters. I love the fact that there's such obvious homages to things. I mean, Shovel Knight's appearance in himself, they call him the Blue Burrower, and his look is clearly medieval Mega Man. So yeah, there's quite a lot of neat little things like that in it. Yeah, I love it. It's great. It's
supposed to be an NES game, but clearly has things that the NES couldn't do. Like
it does, yeah. There's lots of things in there that take it beyond 8-bit. Yeah, definitely.
Retro game done right, though.
Yeah, definitely. Wicked little game. Love it.
Excellent. So, moving on to, we've actually got a film review. We only wanted for a few
We've only had
months.
one of them, haven't we? We've
had about 3 or 4.
I don't Guardians of the Galaxy, did I?
Yeah, and we've had a couple of TV series as well. But
what we got?
Well, it's the last one has come out. Both me and Bard have gone to see it. The Hobbit, Battle of 5 Armies. I also put spoiler alerts.
Yes.
No doubt there will be spoilers. So if you've not seen anything spoiled, then
It's a nice
possibly
start.
go.
Full of spoilers.
Yeah.
Just quickly before you go in depth. Are you good?
Right now, that's interesting. Okay.
Conflicting.
Bard's read the book. I haven't read the book.
Right. So we're gonna get the view of someone who's never read the.
Yes, and interesting because it sounds like he's had the same opinion as the person I went with who had read the book. He seems to have the same opinion.
Right.
So it seems to be divided between if you've read the book or not.
Okay.
I thought it was the weakest of the three films. Not a bad film, just the weakest of the three.
Whereas I think the second is the weakest of the three.
And actually, quite interesting. I think the second was my favorite of the three films.
Okay.
My favorite is the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my gripes with it. I felt watching it that the film ended 20 minutes in.
Okay.
Because
Because you have Smaug.
Smaug was good.
That's kind of
And-
like how Lord of the Rings was for me. I kind of ended the second it started.
Well, Smaug.
To be fair, that's because Frodo is just an annoying character. Just Bilbo's so much better.
Smaug gets himself Smaugified. About 20 minutes, he finally gets killed off within the first sort of half hour of the film.
Wow, that build up was totally worth it.
Yes, but to me, that felt like, oh, the film's ended. And then
Right.
I felt like
Right,
it
let's
felt-
leave the cinema.
Yeah.
Smaug's dead.
I can just imagine Nick standing up and walking
that was a
out.
quick film. I heard it was shorter than the others, but well.
25 minutes?
But the trouble was, then all the bit afterwards where they have like he gets
Which
into
is
the
the best bit,
whore,
'cause there's a huge fight, and who doesn't
the
love a huge
whore
fight?
and the armies and all that sort of stuff. All that sort of bit afterwards, it feels like the sequel to the film. It feels like, okay, the end of the first film is Smaug gets defeated, and then the sequel a year later is this is what happened afterwards.
It's what
It
they've
felt-
taken 6 hours, 25 minutes to do the first film.
What I
and the
will
last
say
part
is
puts the second
I
film.
like the fact that it went into that, because I find that a lot of films these days, especially action films, have forgotten what action is. Like, I don't always. The action films aren't even really my cup of tea. I prefer to watch something with a little bit of intelligence behind it. But when I go to see a film with a bit of action in it, that's what I want to see. And it's nice to see that that they've remembered how to put on a good fight in a film and how to choreograph it and have a good bit of fun with it. Whereas I find a lot of films that claim to be action films these days tend to have less of the action and just
the battle was
more
good.
twaddle.
The battle and it was good. The best part of the battle, as we discussed earlier, was Billy Connolly.
Yeah,
Who
Billy
rides-
Connolly
It's got some fantastic mounts in this game. Billy Connolly.
film.
Well,
has
they
some
level up at some
fast-
point and
Yes, they do. They level up and get rams.
they all finally hit level 20.
It also
all
these
the- yeah,
dwarves have been this.
All the dwarves get goats.
Well, it's not sure if it goes to rams. I
sheep.
reckon they leveled up to level 20 in a lot of their mounts.
Like New Age Warcraft.
All the dwarves
Yeah.
except
But Billy Connolly,
who has a war pig.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
He plays Dane Ironfoot, and he's basically a dwarven troll slayer. He's a ginger dwarf with a mohawk and a hammer, riding a pig, shouting in a Scottish accent, which is what mostly dwarves should be.
It didn't. He doesn't really shout. He just sort of comes on. He sort of talks like
He does shout in the middle of the battle. He's
a
screaming
little
all
bit
over the
about when he
place.
first
He's
comes
not
down
Brian
there.
Blessed.
Grabbing
Yeah.
orcs
I
and
love
headbutting
He
them.
basically
Brilliant.
comes in, call the elves a bunch of ninnies, and then sort of has a bloody fight with them. It's brilliant.
But that's what dwarves do.
That's great. But
He is what fantasy dwarves should be presented as. Very, very cool character.
yeah, no. So it's I like that.
And
bit.
you've got to love Saruman kicking the shit out of the ring wraiths. That was pretty damn cool as well.
It was, but it felt like they'd shoehorned in all the characters from Lord of the Rings into this film. So you had Elrond, you had that weird woman from the forest type womany thing.
That weird
Womany
woman
type
was
thing
so
from the forest.
Is
Yes.
she like android woman?
Yes, she is.
This
And
shows, mate, you can open doors and
she gets sort of pushed in there to rescue Gun. I was like, oh, for crying out loud! You're going to serve every character you can from the previous films.
somehow.
But
Well,
that,
the
that,
films.
that whole section was taken from Tolkien's notes, wasn't it?
I know it was, but it just felt very.
If we're going to talk about shoehorned in things that shouldn't be there, Elf Lady is pretty much prime because she's not a Tolkien character at all. She was made by Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
No, Legolas is woman. The one that falls in love with a dwarf.
Oh yeah, that was awful.
Yeah,
That
she
was
was.
awful.
She's basically been shoehorned in by Peter Jackson. She's not.
I
in
don't.
The books or
yeah,
even in
that
his
whole
notes.
that whole. I mean, that relationship was never going to work. Let's be honest. It was doomed from the start, that relationship, and it's just awful. And it's just it wasn't necessary.
They could have used a stool.
Other than
They
that,
were
how
right.
clo- they
Well,
could
it
use
depends what they're into. To be
they could
fair,
use
really.
The old
It's
yellow
just-
pages. You know, it's all good. How close was it to the book?
Well, I haven't read the book, so
No.
I'm gonna say perfectly accurate.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not close to the book at all, really. In some respects, it is, but then they add so much extra stuff.
I was
going to
say, I still have my gripe with the Hobbit that I did when we discussed the first movie, in that they turned Lord of the Rings, a massive series of books, like massive books,
3 films,
three-hour films,
tiny bit of the Hobbit,
and then the Hobbit, which is like what 100 and something pages, or 80 to 100 and something pages, and they turn it into three-hour films again. How the hell? Why?
It didn't need to. It could be done in 2 films.
They add lots of cinematic stuff as well, just added for flair and for.
There's lots of walking.
There's
a
a comedy character that's not really in the books that's added.
Oh yeah, Alfred. Oh God,
I found him quite amusing. But
you've got the annoying character of Alfred. You've got Ragnos, the whatever his name is. Doctor Who's back in it.
Oh yeah, Radagast.
Yeah, he's back in it. He's stupid chariot of rabbits. Get some horses. It'll be far more efficient.
He's meant to be an eccentric old hermit.
He's an idiot. Get some horses and wash your hair.
He does have bird shit in his hair. That is true. Bless him.
He's back in it.
Bless him.
He's back in it. But it's. But
you were meant to feel that you would empathise with him because he saved a hedgehog in the first film.
Oh,
that was
well. No, he was there to sell toys because all the little kids, Daddy, I want a rabbit sleigh toy. Yeah,
he is a Tolkien character. He is in Tolkien's notes.
He doesn't appear though in the book, does he?
And Tolkien loves it, so it's all right.
Tolkien's dead. He can't love it. The films.
He loves it from heaven or something. I don't know, wherever awesome fantasy writers go. Valhalla.
Elvis's Private Island with Red Warrior Hawk, Buddy Holly, and Kurt Cobain's the T-Boy. Just saying. It's
awesome.
Fact. Trust me. I know this.
Well, I mean, the battle was good. I think I just got felt with the fact that everything you kept saying, oh, well, okay, well, they've had this big fight. Now some orcs have appeared. Now some more orcs have appeared. And then at the very end, what happens? Giant bloody eagles appear. Once again, these
eagles are in the book, though.
They are in the book, but it's once again, it's push this button to solve all your problems. Call the giant eagles in. They solve problems in every bloody film. Why did you bother having armies?
America.
Why did you bother having armies if the eagles just come and just murder everybody?
What's the point in having wars if you can just,
as I said earlier, if I found myself in Middle Earth, I'd buy myself a big bag of birdseed and go make allies with the eagles, and they'd be fine.
I was going to buy myself a big bag of eagles, but
I'd just get fucking chonged with Gandalf personally. But there you go.
Wow. But no, you say it though. But Gandalf has been rescued by the eagles. We've never seen an eagle have to be rescued. Gandalf gets rescued about 3 times, I think.
Chilling in the Shire, smoking some of that. What do they call it? That specific Hobbit
pipe weed.
They've got a particular type, don't they?
I think it's just pipe weed.
But old Snoop Dogg would love to get his hands on that, wouldn't he?
I mean, it's not bad. I did enjoy it. I just thought I just felt it wasn't anywhere near as good as the others, and I just felt it just sort of. I found myself sort of.
See, I found in the second one the Smaug stuff goes on for too bloody long. They hang around in that, and it's just like
that's so well.
In the book, all that happens is he has a discussion with Bilbo, and then that's about it. But they dragged it out in this one. It's like all this and all that shipment of gold and all that.
That was stupid. I will give that gold for the whole bit of the gold was absolutely ridiculous.
What happens to Stephen Fry?
He gets squished by
Smaug. How long?
Also,
it's only 25 minutes into the film, so it must be pretty bloody quick.
Also, Thorin's character in the third one is utter shite. I really don't like that. They've added a thing in the films that isn't in the books called dragon sickness, where if you hang around gold that's a dragon's been around for too long, you become sick. And you start craving
isn't it applied though that it's not say
it's the Arkenstone, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's same happened to his grandfather.
It's having the One Ring effect.
Yeah, I think the idea was it's meant to show corruption. I was meant to get the idea of corruption.
It was a bit boring though, and it kind of took away from Thorin's character.
And it has one of those awful films. They always have films, the realization montage, where the character sort of is in a big space all by himself, and you just hear in the background pre-record bits of dialogue of all other cats saying, well, you used to be a nice guy, really. That sort of type thing.
He's become a bit of a twat recently.
That sort of dialogue. And then there's he has some sort of bizarre hallucination where he drowns in gold, and then he thinks, actually, I'm going to save everybody. One of those all realization moments which no one ever has in real life. So
I'd love it if like Balin just went up to go, Thorin, you've become a bit of a git recently. It's like, oh, have I? He shouts a lot, doesn't he, in this one?
Yeah.
And it's just a bit forced. I don't know.
It gets very nasty.
You think everyone got a bit bored of being dwarves?
Oh yeah,
at this point?
I can't tell.
Also,
they're all
the
same,
dwarves
aren't they?
don't have much going on in this one, do they? They don't
They
seem to have much screen time.
They stand around, put some armor on. And
I'm
then
disappointed
go
that Bomber
fighting.
didn't have some funny moments. I mean,
Bomber, as far as I can see,
Bomber's
as
brilliant.
well.
You know, he had the best part in the second film. So
What, for the one bit where he put his arm, he actually did something useful,
yeah.
like actually kill something.
See,
well
look,
done, Bomber.
they cut out stuff from the books. Like there's a bit in the books where he falls asleep.
Wow,
And
well
so, like-
done, Bomber. Well done.
But that's the idea.
That's
the idea.
What a brilliant part. Well, you've sold them to me. I thought that one bit of fighting was a little bit,
The
but falling
idea-
asleep. Well, what a waste
Well,
of
the
time
idea
that
is
was.
that he's a useless idiot, and they all make fun of him. But there's all bits like that in the book where he just is basically being a prat, and they don't really mention it in the film. And it's like, oh right, so you added in all this other shit and taken stuff out from the books. And it's like,
Oh dear.
yeah, the books I don't know are more light-hearted as well. The Hobbit book is very much a children's story.
I will say I have got a chart which shows you how to work out which dwarf is which.
I found it
You needed
easy.
a chart.
There's a chart that tells you. It's a little question. I'll put a
hard.
link in the
I just
show
couldn't remember
notes.
their names.
It tells you the names.
Yeah, but the trouble is I can't jump on more than a handful of characters at any one time.
That's
so-
true. They're too similar. There's too many of them.
I can
There's
tell
too
which
similar.
ones they were.
I would have
I don't know who
personally,
they were.
I'm going to say something sacrilegious now. I personally would have cut about half of them.
Bard's about to pick up his mic stand.
Go in half the draws, but the ones you've got work on more and develop their characters more.
You need all the dwarves.
No,
you
you
can never have
don't.
too many dwarves.
So
No.
bad.
None too many draws.
Counter Nick's the hatred of the third film.
I don't hate the.
You didn't
I,
hate
just-
it. You
I
just
don't. I
found
don't
it.
think it's as good as
See,
the first.
I will agree. There's bits of it that are a letdown. Like, as I've already mentioned, the stuff with Thorin was just stupid. But I kind of liked other bits. Like, obviously, it's been, as I said, cinematized. It's been broken down to be made sort of relevant to a cinematic audience. So there's stuff added in, like let's add a romantic interest, which is boring. But I did kind of like the comedy inclusion of Alfred, which Nick hated. But I found him quite funny. He's just a little dick and is just being a dick the whole film, but in a funny way. And he was originally the Master's toady, and then when Bard gains all the respect, he stops from being a dick to Bard to becoming Bard's toady and wanting to be his best mate and being all, oh, I'm going to hang around him here now because he's the king, but still being a complete dick. And it was kind of funny.
I'd probably find more interesting if it wasn't like the character I've seen like 1,000 times before.
I think it
His
would have.
character is identical to so many other
I
characters.
think it would have been nicer
films.
if he actually had a bit of redemption. If there was a point where he stopped being a twat and actually helped out, and then they were like, "Oh, well, he's all right, really." That might have been a bit
That'd
better.
been so obviously he should have just died out
Yeah,
of the film.
Nick thinks they should have killed him. But
Yes.
I find anybody
the
who's
way
willing
Nick's
to
gone,
dress
they
as a
should have
woman
killed
and stuff their
everyone other
brassiere
than
with
the dragon.
gold is an appealing character.
I want it renamed Smaug, the taking over of Middle Earth.
Smaug is boring.
I like
though.
Smaug. He's cool.
It's just Benedict Cabbage Patch in another role. That he seems to be the flavour of the month at the minute. I'm not knocking him; he's a good actor, but he's in everything at the moment. And like, I don't know.
He does Smaug really well. though.
Smaug was
Second.
good, but it was just overdone.
Is he?
Is he what?
Is he in everything?
Yeah, he's in loads of stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
There was a spate where he did appear in a lot of films.
He's in that film now about
He's
the
in
guy
that
that
film
cracked
about
the
that
Enigma.
thing.
Well, the
He's,
guy
he,
cracked
play,
the
he
Enigma
plays Alan.
machine.
He plays in
That's it, Alan Turing.
Alan
Yeah,
Turing.
yeah. In Sherlock, and now he's going to be Doctor Strange, and he's Smaug. He's in fucking everything.
Okay, so let's just delete cinema now. Okay, it's not. Yeah, we're done.
But
Where
I
did you
don't
guys
know,
go
I mean,
see it? Out of
the-
question.
Odeon.
Oh,
I went to see it in Lowestoft, and it
so
was
you
in a
went to
really
Hollywood.
small. But I was basically watching it on a telly. It wasn't that great, really.
I love the idea. You know how in school, when you used to have film time, they used to have a little TV in the corner, the front of the classroom.
Wheel it out from the AV
Someone could have VHS, plugged it in, it'd be a little bit worn. I just think that's what happened in the cinema. It's like, wheel it in, someone could have a little VHS, plug it in,
I can just imagine.
Like,
spin through the adverts to the front.
I can refute anything of it being bad by saying it's got fucking Billy Connolly in it as a dwarf that riding a
It
pig.
is good, yeah.
That is enough reason to go
as I
see
said,
it.
the mounts in it are brilliant. You've got pig mounts,
Thranduil has
brilliant.
a gigantic
Ram mounts,
stag.
brilliant. And the stag. I do want to buy a stag. I'm going to train it.
It
to
is
be a
kind of,
mount.
you've got to see Thranduil being pompous as well. He's awesome in his pomposity and how much of a
Dick he is.
arrogant dick he is. Yeah.
But he's got stag to ride around, and you'd be as well. I'd be a dick if I had a stag
I
to
couldn't
ride
help but
around
find
on.
myself agreeing with him in the third film. He seems to be a bit of a voice of reason when he's saying, well, you could try and talk to him, but you ain't going to get very far. And lo and behold, Bad tried to talk to him and didn't get very far. So
Yeah,
it's
but he
kind
does.
of
He's
right.
rather dismissive. He does say they only understand one thing, which is basically it's all very dismissive and very much of a put down. It's very much a case of, well, they only understand one thing. You just got to beat them up. That is a very dismissive. That's
You've
not.
got to hit little people. Give him a clout round the head. I'll listen.
But
Worth
Shine my
seeing,
shoes, dwarf. Like,
I would say rating 3 out of 5.
I'd give it 4 out of 5. I wouldn't give it the full 5 out of 5. I really did enjoy it, but it's not spectacular. It's
Worth
just,
seeing in the cinema or just wait for it on Netflix?
Cinema, oh,
yeah, it's
cinema,
definitely a cinematic experience,
definitely.
especially for like families and stuff.
You have to.
Definite family
Yeah,
film.
you definitely have to watch it at least once in the cinema just to get the. He's your typical Peter Jackson. Well, sort of beautiful scenery, roaring landscapes, big landscapes that I don't want to say raw. Unless Smarg's about before he got killed. And
Oh, boo.
There were, and the killing of him was utterly over the top.
that was
as well.
ridiculous.
In a book, Bad just fires a black arrow at him and he falls out of the sky and that's it. In a film, he has to get a gigantic black machine arrow.
And he uses his son.
He uses his son as leverage. Like, has him there balancing the arrow and he's like, look at me, son, don't look at the dragon.
Left a
It's
bit, right a
oh
bit,
my
left a bit.
God, it's just
I was
This, you little
I was
bastard, you
waiting because if you looked on that black arrow, the flight on it was made of metal as well. So I was waiting for the scene afterwards where after he's fired, his son's like got his ear cut off from the flight. That would have been an excellent ending to that scene. Child mutilation.
took the little kid's head off. I was like,
Yeah. Whoops.
well, didn't think about that one. did I?
That didn't go quite according to plan.
Oh, well.
I kind of would have liked to have seen a bit more of the master as well.
Yes.
Stephen Fry's character.
He was quite amusing.
Yeah, well, when the old special edition DVD comes out, as it
Extended
inevitably
version.
will, there'll be extra stuff to see, I'm
Yeah.
sure. So hopefully they'll add some more Dane Ironfoot. as
How
well.
long was it between the second one and that coming out on like Blu-ray and Netflix and stuff? So we have like a rough guesstimate of how long it's going to be from.
Netflix got it
PlayStation.
pretty darn quick. Well, they got the first one really quickly. I think about 3 months they got it. Second one took a little longer to come on there, so who knows? DVDs are usually pretty quick these days,
Yeah,
aren't
the
they?
DVD will be
Virtually as soon as it comes out
Like
cinema, it's
February,
on.
won't
Yeah,
it?
well, as soon as it comes out cinema, it'll be on DVD, won't it? Let's be honest.
It's kind of weird now. Like sometimes you'll have
Extended edition for Christmas
stuff
next year.
will come out on the. They'll be out on the cinema, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, you can rent it on iTunes at the same time,"
Yeah.
which is. But anyway,
So yeah.
might see it, might not.
I'd say definitely give it a watch.
I didn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
realize that the second one was the second one on Netflix until like we clicked. And I was like, "Oh shit, it's the new one." I didn't realize the cover art was exactly the fucking same.
Yeah. Right. Shall we move on?
Yeah, go for it.
Stuff we're looking forward to. Luke.
Oh, right. What was I talking about? Space, right?
Yes.
Fucking good job. So I'm going to recommend a game without actually having played it. I think it might be a game that you two should probably play at some point. Have either of you two heard of Elite Dangerous?
Name is familiar.
Right. Well, a few of the folks in the chat are going to scream at me because I know that a few of the folks in the chat actually play the game.
Okay.
But it's basically imagine an MMORPG set in space where you fly around a spaceship. and you just go around and do it
As opposed to
Oh yeah,
fly
no,
around.
you did show me this actually. You sent me a web page for it and
Yeah,
stuff
you
and a video on that. and I'll
fly
check it
about.
out.
You can be a you
yeah.
can be Han Solo. You can be a bounty hunter. You can be.
I have
someone.
looked at the video.
Space Kim
The
Jong-il,
video, yeah. If they didn't make it, what I didn't like the
Space
video.
Barbarian.
Yes, the video didn't make it very clear whether you were, whether for a whole minute I thought, is this multiplayer?
Space
only?
Barbarian needs to
Is
ride
it
a
an
space
MMO type
mammoth
thing?
in
But
space. That would be awesome. Sorry, I'm just throwing it out there. We were talking about mountain stuff. A space mammoth would be so cool.
with little thrusters on it.
Have fucking Brian going through on his space, like on his actual ship.
I think all mounts should. I should switch it. It should either be a space stag or a space pig. A space pig.
Come on, a space mammoth. It's
It would-
huge and
cool,
it's got tusks.
You call
And
it
it's
moon
made of
pig.
beard. So it's like
Made of beard.
it's like a living
Where-
beard machine.
Where does Brian Bretton start and the mammoth end? We don't know.
That's how he rides it. He just folds his arms and his beard weaves into the hair and
Yeah.
controls it.
You've
That
been
would
watching
be
Avatar,
amazing.
haven't you?
Oh no, I hate Avatar. Oh, no, that's not so bad. I mean the film. The really obvious Pocahontas in space film.
Are you talking about the Smurfs film?
Yeah.
Yes.
You might as well
Blue
just
yeah.
watch Fern Gully and not bother. It's just like at least it had Tim Curry in it. Maybe Avatar should have Tim Curry in it.
Maybe we should see if we can get Tim Curry for Space Barbarian.
Tim Curry, yeah, he should. Yeah, well, Carl Pilkington was in
We
that.
could
Right,
get
I
Dwarf
was
Star
established
crash into
this.
Pilgrims and Towers.
Yeah.
Maybe Tim Curry could be the narrator.
That'd be cool.
That would be awesome, actually.
We'll get on that one.
So,
Right into the script.
I think we're getting dangerously close to getting stuck on Space
No,
Barbarian.
it's
Yeah.
Space Barbarian.
We've
the
already done
podcast.
2 episodes, which are basically Space Barbarian.
I had to.
Planet
I had to.
Native.
I've made sound bites of just the Space Barbarian talk. That was like 20, 30 minutes long in one of the last podcasts. I was like, I'm pretty sure this entire podcast is Space Barbarian.
I think
the
it was.
podcast. We might as well just stop doing the podcast.
Space
Just turn it into
Barbarian is love.
the
Space
podcast.
Barbarian is
We'll do a
life.
podcast about a film that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We should write a review on it. I love this movie. You should go see it, even though it doesn't exist. Like, but if we write it down for you like a book, you can visualize it in your head, which is basically
We'll go
the same
Rotten
as reading
Tomatoes
a
and put a
book.
review up there. And then everyone will
We could put the book up as the novelization of the film. That would be, that would confuse people.
Just so we can cast it. Like,
Right. Again, once again, we're moving into Space Barbarian territory. Let's
Yeah.
veer back towards Elite Dangerous
so I
territory.
will play Elite Dangerous if I could be a space barbarian. Let's
Yeah,
put it that
well,
way.
try it. That'd be kind of.
But
you know-
that'd basically be a Mandalorian, really, wouldn't it?
So the reason I bring it up is it looks really nice.
It
Yeah,
does.
It looks nice. You can just fly around, do whatever you want, prat about with your mates, or play solo. Doesn't really matter. Because I've asked a few people just to find out. Because I know Nick doesn't like playing with humans.
No. Humans ruin all fun. I'd rather play myself.
Yeah, good job. Okay. Well, because the other thing is Nick likes having accessories and
It's
stuff.
another
for
way
his-
of
for his
piloting your
rig,
ship,
and Elite
though.
Dangerous takes advantage of flight sticks, joysticks, and stuff.
Hey.
So a lot of people say if you want to play the game properly, you don't have to have one, but it kind of adds to the experience to have a flight stick or something. Something else that Nick might
See,
like
flight sticks.
takes full advantage of the Oculus Rift.
Ooh.
So you can actually look around the cockpit and all kinds of stuff.
Cockpit.
Bad, mate. Seriously, you just got one dirty mind, dude.
Considering what I've seen the Oculus Rift being used for, then first
don't
video
really
I got
think
linked to of the Oculus Rift is somebody sitting there with a masturbation simulator, and I was just like, "What?
So you need a simulator for that?
Humanity, here we are. You're offered some brand."
was
The
gonna
brand
say,
new technology. And the first
My
thing you do
daughter-
is have a wanking
in
simulator.
my head, I've got a vision of the masturbation simulator being like sort of those sort of rhythm games where you have to tap the buttons the correct order, the correct timing. It's only the up and down key you need to use, to be honest with it.
The joys of what we do. Humanity does with new technology. We could be
Really?
figuring out how to cure cancer and all that,
First
but
thing
instead,
is
wanking.
the world of all technology, no matter what it is, the first thing people do is A, turn to a weapon, or in for military
Sexualise
application,
it.
or B, find a way to have sex with it, or use it to simulate sex, or
Have
do some
both.
sex.
Sexual weaponry. Amazing.
But yeah, I'm recommending the game without having played it because I'm not allowed to buy it because of the Shrink Wrap Challenge.
I'm tempted, very tempted to give it a whirl.
So if you do, I'm expecting a full review. Like,
Yeah.
I want to know, like, seriously, play that fucking game.
I
But
will.
you do the same.
Be like our description of Space Barbarian. Like
Yeah, I want to see you two reenact Space Barbarian in this game. Like, name a fleet, do whatever it is you do to make shit happen.
So basically, me just playing as I usually do online games and annoying the hell out of
Yeah,
absolutely
fucking
everybody.
terrorize the shit out of people. Drive them
Fair enough.
insane. Do it.
Perfect.
That's it. Play the game.
I've also got on
10 out of
here.
10.
Fair enough. I've also got here Sudoku 2, 1 and 2.
Right, so it's the recent European release of a game that you can get in books, which a lot of people think is Japanese. That probably isn't. And
A
it's
game
not.
you get in books.
So
It's based on a Chinese novel.
Oh.
no, I'm talking about Nick's talking about a stupid puzzle game, and I'm talking about Suikoden or Suikoden or whatever it is people pronounce it as.
Oh, sorry, I missed your obvious Sudoku joke there. Shame on me.
No, it was
So
Nick's
did
joke
I.
from earlier. Well, that's the thing. You missed out your own joke, mate.
I did.
But so Bud, one of the things that you got really pissed off about with the Vita and PlayStation 3 is the lack of decent
It is,
PlayStation 1
and
games.
especially the lack
store.
of that game in particular, because anybody who knows me knows that Suikoden 2 is my favourite game of all time.
So apparently, it's getting released on the European PSN
It
store
is,
this month,
which is pretty cool.
Woo.
and that's it. That's it. That's all I
All
want
right,
to
fair
say.
enough.
Two of the rarest, I guess,
Although,
PlayStation 1 RPGs.
We should sort of say how cool these games are, because
All right, then, yeah, well, I'll leave this up to you because you're more of a
Really?
Suikoden fan
Oh,
than I am. Well, I've only played the first one. I only
have
beat
you not
the,
played
I,
the second
I
one?
beat the first one to completion,
Holy
started the
shit,
second
you
one, and
need
then
to
never
get on the
finished it.
second one. The second one is, like I say, the best game.
Well,
ever
I was
made.
going to do them as part of my Shrink Wrap Challenge, but then I lost them. So I don't know if.
Well,
whether
now
or
you
not-
could do them through PSN.
Yeah, I'd have to buy the games.
It doesn't matter. You do them.
Break the rules. Buy the
You
games.
you had the game, you lost it, therefore it counts. So do it.
Fair
Suikoden 2 is a game you have to play. You will agree with me when you played it.
I mean,
It's
I
the
like
best RPG of all time.
I like the characters, like the story, but for the life of me, I can't explain it.
Well, it's based. Well, the second one more so, and I found out recently actually that the first game was only was made as a precursor to the second one. But the second one was a game they wanted to make, but the developers were so inexperienced at the time they didn't want to ruin what they had in mind.
So they bust
So
out RPG
the
Maker and-
first Suikoden was made just so they could find their feet before making the second one, which. Suikoden 1 by no means is a bad game. It's
That was really
a
fun.
fantastic game. Number 2 is the better one. And number 2 is more focused around the story. It's his take on Outlaws of the Marsh, which is known as over here collectively as the Water Margin, which was a series that kind of made it over in the 70s, but was dubbed a dub release. So it was kind of a television series based on this Chinese novel. It's one of the top 3 Chinese novels, the other 2 being Romance of the Three Kingdoms and Journey to the West, which is about Monkey King. So yeah, it's based on that book, which is a fantastic story. But the idea with the Suikoden games is they're sort of role-playing games in the style of, say, Final Fantasy, but where you have a party of 6 rather than a party of 3 to 4, giving you a little bit more variety. And the game is based around collecting 108 stars, which is 108 people that will join your cause. They're all both games are based in sort of Civil War periods, with fantasy elements loosely sort of thrown in. But the storyline to these games, especially number 2, is fantastic. I mean, Suikoden 2, right? Well, being that it's based on a novel, the story itself and all the extra stuff that's been sort of changed and added in, it does rival literature. It's a very, very good story, moving in quite a lot of ways and inspiring in others. Really, really cool plot. From what you know of the first one, did you enjoy the first game?
Yes,
I
I
assume.
got all 108.
Did you get the special ending
What, the one where said character is still
where he returns?
yeah.
Yes. Good. Yeah, no, that's cool. If you do that in the second game, you can unlock the hero from the first game as a character.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, there's a point where you meet him again. If you carry a save over, you meet him in one of the towns, And
because the character is mentioned, isn't it? The actual castle that you have in the first game is mentioned in the second game.
yeah, and characters from the first game were in the second game. The key ones being Victor and Flick, which are like two of my favourite characters.
Victor, the dude with the sword.
Victor is fucking brilliant, man. He's
when they're coming up with the distraction to try and get into the base,
sets the building on fire. Yeah,
good times.
And like in the second one, you know the Star Dragon sword that he gets, because he comes from an ancient line of vampire hunters, Victor. Although you wouldn't expect it, because he's not particularly Belmont like or anything, is he?
No.
He's kind of like a bit of a barbarian, really. He's a bit of a
fucking thug.
He's a rogue, but he's a cool thug. He's not like somebody that just beat up on anyone. He's sort of kind hearted, isn't he? Even though he's rough around the edges,
shouting at his sword.
Yeah, but yeah, you meet you need to go get the Star Dragon sword again in the second one to fight Necklord, because Necklord reemerges with an army of zombies. Yeah, one of the instances that isn't in the ancient Chinese novel, I will add, the appearance of the very Western vampire that looks like Christopher Lee.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have to go back and fight him again with Victor, and Victor goes to get the Star Dragon sword. And when you meet it, they have an argument, just like gets into a hissy fit with him. You have to fight it. It becomes a boss battle just because he couldn't be nice to the sword and he was angry with it, wanting him to kiss its ass. It's quite amusing. But yeah, no, there's lots of good characters in those games.
I had a massive cast. All of them interesting characters.
Yeah, it's amazing that even though there's that many characters, they all have some degree of depth to them. Mm-hmm. Obviously, some more so than others, like Flick and Victor. The second one, even better, because in that respect, some of the characters have their own story missions, which I thought was very cool, and you don't necessarily have to do all of them. For example, do you remember Futch from the first game? The Dragon Rider that joins you. Well, in the first game, you first meet him at the castle. You begin with, and he's a noble dragon rider, and he joins you. Him and his dragon join you and help you in one of the battles, and he leads the Dragon Knights. Well, in the second one, he's lost his dragon. Unfortunately, a bit of spoiler alert: his dragon is dead, and so he has to go on a quest to go to this mountain to get a new one. He has to go get a dragon egg so that he can hatch a new one and raise a new one. And Humphrey, who's the silent character from the first game, the guy who joins you with Flick and Victor, he's in that little group of rebels. He barely talks. He goes with him, and they have their own little adventure, and it's brilliant. You kind of join them because your main character always has to be in the party, but he doesn't really impact it much. He just kind of goes along for the ride. Yeah, and there's a few bits like that in the game where you'll go along with other side characters and do their own personal little story missions, and I really liked that because it really did round the cast out a bit more and give the game a little bit more backstory. And it makes you, it's one of those games where you actually feel like your party is getting along and coming together, and the fact that your castle levels as you play the game and you unlock more people, the castle gets bigger, more stuff happens. You get your own little story bits happen there as well. Because
the characters, you can interact with them in the castle, and they do different things in the castle.
Yeah, so at different times in the game, they'll all have different things to say. And it's one of those games where you really start to feel for the characters and you become quite attached to them. It is one of those very rare games that I get so wrapped up in, I just forget the outside world and I just get stuck into that world, and I'm there, and it's one of those games.
I have to admit, when you say you get attached to the characters, normally I well, a lot of the time I do, but in this game I kind of didn't. And there was this one character I always took the piss out of, and then when they vanished, I was like, "You little fucking
Which
bastard."
character was that?
I'm just because. And then they come back, and I was like, "Oh, you bastards, you're back!
Yeah,
come back!"
I always find him amusing because he feels like C-3PO to me.
Yes,
just
for sure.
Just like a very sort of
just this
silly butler-like character, isn't he? Yeah.
Why won't you just piss off? And then he goes
and
away.
Did you read into his backstory and stuff?
No.
He's even more likable when you read into his backstory. He was basically like a soldier under your father, the main father, and you find that that's how he got his scar and everything, and he was a hero and he saved him in combat and stuff, and that's why he joins up and works for him, because he admires him so much. Yeah, again, there's that much depth to all the characters in those games.
I actually I purposely got all of the other characters just so I could get that character again.
Yeah,
I was like,
he shows up in the second game as well. He doesn't join you, but you can speak to him.
You can actually miss characters, can't you? Because some of them are in timed events and stuff. So
yeah.
Pretty neat.
Oh god, there's one in the second one, Clive the gunman from the first game. Did you ever get him?
Well, I got more.
Right, yeah. Did you remember him though?
No,
he was a hooded gunman. In the second game, his
Who was the guy in and there was a snowfield. So one of the last guys you can get, I think, is one of the ones you can miss.
Yeah. Are you thinking of the other
I think
strategist?
he's wearing black. Yeah, it might have been one of the strategists.
Leon Silverberg, who becomes the enemy strategist in the second game, which is
motherfucker.
interesting.
Should kill him.
Yeah, he comes back in the second. He's with you in the first one, isn't he? Because he's the brother of Matthew Silverberg, who is the superior strategist. But then he becomes your nemesis in the second game, or the strategist of your enemy, so to speak. Whereas Shu, who is the student of his brother, is your strategist. So that adds an interesting dynamic that I kind of liked. Sorry, we were talking about something else then before we.
No, it doesn't matter. Do we know when it's actually coming out exactly? Have you read anything about
I haven't. I read that it was coming out in America. I didn't read about it coming in the EU.
Here?
That's cool.
It's already out in the States.
We should be pick up another Vita just so I can play on the go now.
Yeah, for sure.
Get back into Dragon's
I will
Crown
be picking
again.
it up at some point as well when I beat Surfer.
I love that game.
I mean, I'd like to do
I
1
can't
and 2 as part of the
express
Surfer Challenge.
how
but-
much I love Suikoden 2. That is my favourite game of all time. Just such a good game.
I mean, it was so hard to get hold of over here.
Oh, yeah.
It's,
Very
hard as
rare
well.
now, isn't it? It's expensive now, as far as I'm aware.
Well, because everyone wants it, because no one got a chance to play it when it actually came out.
Which is a shame, because it trumped every other role-playing game
I'll tell
on
you
the
something,
PS.
one of my mates actually has both of them. The actual discs, both of them. Like he had some of the rarest RPGs I've ever
I
seen.
used to have both of them. I wish I kept hold of them.
You plank.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. I see it as, although I prefer the second one, I would always say to people to play the first one first.
Yeah, well, I would
just
too.
because it is a great game.
Even though they don't, you're not going to miss anything if you. Like,
No, but
really
you
miss
get
anything
to
else.
know some of the characters a bit better.
You get a
and the
little bit
ones
of
that cross
extra, a little
over.
bit of extra story and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I
so-
was saying about Clive's one in the second one. You can completely miss you can miss him as a character, but even if you get him, you completely miss his story. And I watched a YouTube video of someone playing out the whole thing, and it was interesting to read the comments that most people that have played the game never got this to happen. He ends up hooking up with another character because he's after somebody, he's chasing them. And apparently you can only get to them at certain points in the game. The game doesn't tell you either, so it's kind of like a replay
like a hit
value
and miss,
thing.
yeah.
And yeah, and that whole story.
Replay value. That's a hell of a long fucking game. to
Yeah, you go
replay.
back through to try and get this, I suppose. And the story that his own story has its own ending. And I was like, bloody hell, I didn't even realize you could get this. Yeah, it's something that I learned about the game. It's one of those games that you'll always find new things in. And yeah, some of the characters are quite tough to get hold of. Like you either have to do certain missions to get them, or sometimes things that you might not be aware of, like the 6 squirrels that join you. The flying squirrel. Oh yeah, you haven't played number 2, have you? No. There's
All I know about number 2 is I think is it Luca Blight.
yes,
Is
the extraordinary villain, very very good villain. That you fight at the midway point. Don't even fight him towards the end. He's that hardcore. He fights you halfway through the game, and it's one of
those kind of
toughest boss battles you will ever fight, but so rewarding.
It's kind of like one of those dragon things where 25 minutes in, the dragon goes away
Yeah.
and the thing's over. It's the same with the game. You fight the end boss in the middle of the game. And then after that, everyone has a party, some cake, some tea, and that's the end of the game.
That's it. They don't all have a party, cakes, and tea. The war gets worse
No!
due to his absence. But yeah. And
always the
again,
way.
almost, if he weren't such a horrendous bastard, would he be sympathetic in the sense that horrible shit had he seen and had happened to him before he went absolutely stark raving bonkers. But still, yeah, such a horrible character, and that he becomes a brilliant villain. Just somebody that you're really going to want to defeat, and yet somebody that at the same time is kind of awe-inspiring with how wicked and powerful he is.
It's kind of the Lu Bu of the game. Really,
yeah, and like it's interesting the fact that he's human as well. He's mortal, and that makes his crimes all the worse. He's monstrous because he is a human man, and he doesn't have any special powers or any of that shit. He's just a leader of a big
like
army.
Any other game, any
Yeah.
other RPG, you've got some kind of
Ridiculous ancient evil. I mean, he does unleash something like that on the world at some point. He gets a power and uses it, but overall,
That was only because he was fucking angry and bored.
his story being that he's stark raving bonkers in power.
I'm pretty sure I remember. Like, I think I remember a scene where he kills off a load of his own men. Just
That's the reason you get thrust on the adventure. He's
Isn't that, like,
basically.
right at
I
the
can
start?
reveal it because it's right at the start. It's not a spoiler. Luca Blight is the prince of the country that your main character hails from, and your main character and his best friend are in a group called the Unicorn Brigade, which is basically like in their military, they're like the youngsters that are being trained up, the newbies that are being trained up to become fully fledged soldiers. And this just shows how awful he is, because he wants to he basically wants to make the war worse, because his mother was raped and not killed. She was raped and beaten by some of the soldiers in front of him, and his father did nothing to stop it. So he hates his father, even though it's because his father's a king. Like, he sees him as a powerless wretch, and he wants to fuel the war because he vehemently hates the opposing people. Can't see that there's bad and good on either side. He just sees them as evil, wants to wipe them out. And to reinforce his cause, what he does is he puts the Unicorn Brigade out onto the front lines, preparing for the battle, like to see the battle so they can train up for it. And then he attacks them himself, kills all of them by you and your friend who escape, and then blames it on the enemy. It's like, look how awful they are. They killed our youth brigade, tries to fuel the war that way. And that's kind of how you see what a bastard he is, really. And it's rushed. Your character ends up getting taken in by the opposing side, and you're a prisoner of war to begin with, but then they end up trusting you and liking you, and you become like kind of the leader of their cause over time. And that's what makes it such a cool game, is you get to see all sides. You get to see the pointlessness of war, really, and how fucking awful it is for everybody involved, and that it all comes down to figureheads moving chess pieces on a board. Realistically, only those chess pieces are people. And yeah, it's got a fantastic story, very, very political, very well written.
So we'll say that if you own a PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, or a PlayStation TV, get it.
To pick it up. Yeah, definitely get it, especially as it's bound to be quite cheap. As it'll be like
that'll probably be about
£5-6 quid, something
£7.
Like yeah,
the bigger RPGs, or
better quality games,
usually about £7.
Definitely worth picking both of them up. Definitely, definitely. Anybody that likes RPGs will enjoy it. Anybody that likes Final Fantasy games or anything like that.
I personally think it's better than.
I think it's way better than Final Fantasy. Well, it's my favorite game, so I'm biased. But like, I played Suikoden and Final Fantasy 7 around the same time, and I was built up on hype for Final Fantasy 7. And Final Fantasy 7 didn't disappoint me. I did enjoy it, but I finished Suikoden quicker and enjoyed it a hell of a lot more.
I played Suikoden long after I played Final Fantasy 7.
I bought Suikoden on a random. I remember I was quite young at the time, and I remember going into game looking for a game I wanted.
Holy shit, it was in game.
Yeah. And yeah, because this was when it first came out. This is when I first got my PlayStation. It was one of the first games I bought. I went out on my birthday with my money and was like, yeah, I'm going to buy a game for my birthday. Had a look in the shops and that. This was like pre-internet. So you didn't, or internet was new and I didn't have it, basically. It was like fucking archaic internet. Yeah. So yeah, you take a stab in the dark about games if you hadn't read reviews about them. And the PlayStation was a new console. So I didn't really know much about any of the games that were out for it. So the few that were, I went into game, had a look. Picked this game up, liking RPGs from the Mega Drive, but only ever having experience with, like, say, Shining Force and relatively new games.
I played Shining Force pretty late as well.
Did you? Oh,
finished it.
I think that was the first proper RPG I ever played, and that got me into the genre. But saw that game in there, read about it, just loved the look of the art and the characters and the fact that it was a role-playing game, and picked it up on a random, and sort of played it about the same time as Final Fantasy 7. And was blown away by how much more I enjoyed it. Even though I did enjoy Final Fantasy 7, I'm not knocking it.
Oh yeah, for sure, they're all good games.
But Suikoden was just so much better. Like I was so drawn into the story. Like no other RPG really compelled me to play that much.
It's worth picking up.
Definitely worth picking up.
Excellent.
I can actually blame one person on my love of RPGs.
Yeah,
and yeah, because RPGs was a genre that I skipped over for most of my gaming life. I kind of played with them, but never finished any.
Yeah,
until I got into high school. Actually, a mate of mine, Afro.
Oh yeah, I remember
the dude
Adam.
Who actually owned Suikoden 1 and 2. He was the one that was like, "Hey man, you've got to play. You've got to play Alundra."
He's a cool guy. Do you still talk to him?
Yeah, man.
Oh,
Lives down the street.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, I have to say hello to him again because I remember having good chats and stuff with him back in the day.
He loves his RPGs.
Oh, good
Halo.
man.
RPGs and Halo. But yeah, that's pretty much his fault. I mean, he got me into Secret of Mana. One of my favorite games
Oh, yeah.
now, Legend of Mana on the PlayStation,
Legend of
which
Mana
we'll
is
probably
a
never ever get.
fantastic game.
Spent a fortune importing that once upon a time.
Oh yeah, so I remember. Yeah, I remember. We got that from budget, didn't we? And then
I was dribbling over that game for months when I got announced.
oh, it was good. That was a good game.
And it looked one of the games he played Shine and Force and stuff like that. And then I kind of went over into the more kind of obscure games like Legend of Heroes and stuff like that. Games that only got released in the States.
RPGs, I think, are a genre that kids should definitely get into because RPGs taught me. I mean, I did like books and stuff back then, but I liked them more after playing role-playing games and
proper
getting
interactive stories.
Really
RPGs.
sort of getting drawn into these games and like if you've got a kid that's struggling with like reading and stuff, it's a great way of getting them to read because they'll play a game that they can then follow along with and of maybe not newer ones because they're voice acted, but sort of earlier ones.
Give them the older
most
ones.
Definitely. Yeah, fantastic games.
I think I might actually have to break the rules of the Shrink Wrap Challenge just to rebuy them games.
Do it because
otherwise I'm not going to be able to do them as part of the challenge.
It's technically part of the challenge as you already owned them. So it's
I still do. I just can't find them.
You're not breaking any rules. You're just playing them for a different format.
Also, random fact: I'd never actually properly played Crash Bandicoot before.
No,
until just towards the end of last year.
They're quite good games, the early ones. Anyway, I remember Crash Bandicoot 1 playing it for the first time on the PlayStation. That's a damn nice looking game, considering what it's running on. You look at other PlayStation games into comparison to it.
God, so many games I played. I got a load of them for the Vita TV, like Destruction Derby, Wipeout.
They were good games.
And a couple of other like random racing games and that. I was like, I remember these games looking amazing.
Yeah.
Played them, I was like,
you go back now,
this
they look
game's
awful, don't they?
Like the hell? You ever noticed the step forwards never seems that great, but then you don't realize how good it is until you go back. It's like, oh, this looks pretty much the same as what I got on the PlayStation.
Crash Bandicoot
I remember playing when we first got our PS2, playing Time Splitters, and my sister, it's almost photorealistic.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think when I first noticed it was either it was probably a wrestling game or a Tony Hawk's game.
I always remember noticing games that stood out a bit more, like Metal Gear 2 really pushed your PS2 to its limits.
No, I mean, like, I didn't notice how good the graphics were until I went back to a previous game in the series. So, like, I'd play SmackDown 3 or whatever on a PS2 or whatever it was on. And I'd go back to SmackDown 2 on, like, a PlayStation 1. I'm like, holy fucking shit. Was that really that big of a gap? I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Or play Tony Hawk's 3 on the PlayStation 2. After playing it on the PlayStation 1, I'd be like, it's hardly any different. But then I'd actually go back and play the PlayStation 1 version. Like, shit,
really
this thing stutters, half the levels missing, the graphics are crap. Wow.
Yeah.
You know? But anyway, I'll stop rabbiting on about my old school gaming days of actually gaming and let's move on.
Right, other news. We missed this because we recorded our podcast on the 5th. But on the 6th of December, or podcast, I should say, Ralph H. Baer, who many people consider the father of video game consoles. He developed one of the first, well, actually, he developed a console with a sort of electrical engineers that would work with TV sets, sort of to be sold commercially. Where's
the Odyssey?
Well, he developed it and then he sold it to the Magnavox Odyssey company.
Yeah.
And he died on 6th December, aged 92.
He did well.
He did very well. He's one of those people who did lots of things you didn't realise about. I thought, well, we missed out on that. We need to put it in there as he's quite important to, well, look where we are now because of him. Mm-hmm. Half the things we've been talking about the last few episodes wouldn't have happened without him. So I just thought I'd pop that in there and thought, nice. But you're absolutely right. He developed it. He initially came up with the idea back in 1966. And eventually sold it to Magnavox Odyssey in 1972. He developed an initial prototype in 71, and the sorts. Then Odyssey Magnavox sold it okay, and then another company called Atari came along and basically copied his game called Table Tennis, released it as Pong. And that's where it all took off. Because it annoys me. A lot of people do say Pong was the first game. Actually, it wasn't really. It wasn't the first video game for definitely, because of Telltale. So it definitely wasn't the first game. Mm-hmm. He also invented the game. I didn't know. He invented the game called Simon Says. Do you remember playing that game?
Oh yeah, the lights.
Yeah. I never knew he invented that game. He invented that as well. but it's something like several hundred patents under his name. He's an amazing guy, and unfortunately he died. So
now this is going to sound really stupid considering his age. Was it old age or like
no, he
pneumonia
died in a mass shooting where he was fighting on the front line of a war in Iraq. And he decided to take the war to them, and he won.
He rode in with his unicorn.
Yes,
and his
the Eagles didn't save him then.
No, they didn't.
No,
No, the Eagles
Shamefully.
didn't come. No, he died of old age.
All right. So that
Benefits of being friends with wizards, that is.
Yeah. Oh, he also invented electronic greeting cards and tracking systems for submarines. I don't know if he combined them together, so the submarine tracking system was that when we played Happy Birthday on a loop.
There's something great war games like about that.
Yeah. It kind of hooks on and it bleeps. That's like the Happy Birthday tune. It's the submarine's going through the water.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So I thought, flashback.
Flashback.
Luke,
Oh yeah.
you made an error.
Oh yes. In one of the last podcasts, what was I was calling it? Pokemon Alpha. I was calling Pokemon Ruby.
Pokemon Alpha.
Yeah, and I was.
There are so many Pokemon games; it's an
Yeah.
easy mistake. To
Well, it's
make.
like I was kind of like switching between calling it Alpha and Pokemon Ruby, like every other time I was saying it. So I was getting really confused, and when I was editing it, I was like, "The hell was I talking about?" Must have been like I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning. I bet it was. So yeah, I sounded like an idiot, which is normal for the podcast. Have we got anything else in flashback?
Yes. The joy. You know, I've whinged about Ubisoft taking Far Cry off Steam.
Yeah, what happened with that?
Christmas Eve, it appeared on Steam.
Just out.
Hell yeah! I saw it on Christmas Day. My computer loaded on Christmas Day, Steam loaded up, and up it popped. Far Cry 4 on Christmas sale. I was like, bugger what I'm doing for Christmas Day, I'm buying that.
We've listened to your podcast. We understand that you're very upset.
Yeah.
We do apologize.
We do more detail in the next podcast, but all I can say it's Far Cry 3.
Uncle Gabe made Nick's
Honed.
Christmas.
He did.
Lord Gaben.
Beautiful. Far Cry 4. It's a brilliant game, but I won't go into this. I'll go into details in the next podcast because I don't want to get too drawn down into Far Cry 4.
Cool. So the next podcast will be the Far Cry 4 podcast.
Yes.
Okay.
I will be switching your mics off. You're only allowed to speak if there's asked me a question about Far Cry 4.
Okay, not to say to you like, hey Nick, isn't that almost a complete knockoff of I don't know Far Cry 3? Yes,
It is indeed. But do you know what? I don't care because I enjoyed Far Cry 3.
Do you know how my
No,
friend
no, I'll
sold
tell you
Far
what.
Cry 4 to me? He said, at points, random stuff will happen. You can see a falcon pick up a pig and fly
Yes,
off
that
with it.
happens.
I was like,
That's pretty neat. I just want to
Cool.
say that the one thing I have to mention is that the villain, the geezer in the suit,
Pagan Min.
whoever it is, I don't give a fuck, isn't as cool as Voss from the other.
He's different.
see, now I
he's
found
different.
Vass hopelessly overrated.
Oh yeah, for sure, but still.
But he's
he was funny.
he's nice. I think as a villain, he's crazy, but in a different way. Whereas Vass is just over the top crazy. You know, from the moment you meet him that he's mental. Pagan Min, when you first meet him, if you met him sort of in a normal sort of meeting, you think he's actually quite a nice guy. But as you learn more about him, he is clearly absolutely mental. But he's just a bit more of a sort of a sophisticated mental person.
That's kind of funny considering when I first looked at him, I thought, isn't that Sheogorath? Look kind of the same.
I said, won't get a dog down to that. I'll go into more details next podcast.
Okay, then that's cool.
Okay. So, weird news.
Do we have much? Is this all
Yeah.
from over Christmas or?
Yeah, there's quite a bit over Christmas, and I've managed to filter. I filtered it down.
I was gonna say, how many people let us down? Like, have we all gone and taken a turn when the even? Like,
There's no
we've hit an evolutionary cul-de-sac. We're now
There have
going
been
back
quite
the
a
other
few
way.
people let down. There's a few which I didn't put in here. There was a couple of bestiality
bad,
stores I could have put in, but I didn't.
Thank God, no.
Oh, dear.
A chap smoked cannabis, decided to give a horse a blowjob. I didn't put that in there.
Okay. Good.
The-
Good
yeah.
job. Okay, that's reasons why you shouldn't smoke. Well, especially not if you're not a complete.
I love the
dumbass.
fact that the news report they said we don't know who owns the horse. You'd hope it was him or a friend of his. I'm sure they could find that out. But so I didn't put that. I chose not to put that in because I thought we don't want to get too bestiality heavy in the weird news podcast
Yeah,
section.
for sure.
so-
Otherwise, it's going to be the bestiality podcast.
yeah. So I thought I'd stay clear of that.
I'm sure there's plenty of those in the world already without us adding anything extra.
Of course. What, bestiality podcasts?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Anyway, Luke.
It's the internet. There's bound to be.
Of course is. Luke, you're currently self-employed,
Yes.
but I found a job for you that pays 40 grand a year.
Right.
Okay. You have got a big competition. 10,000 people applied for it. Listen, the job is getting shot repeatedly by paintballs.
Okay.
Okay. Basically UK Paintball as a company who develop paintballs.
I've never guessed.
Yes, as you guess. And they've put an advert out for somebody whose job it is to be shot in order to show they meet health and safety standards. Presumably so they don't die.
Okay, so you die.
So the advert they said, "Are you bored with your current part-time job and are looking for a new challenge of awesome colleagues?" It does suggest you have a relatively high pain threshold, and it tells them this might be an opportunity for you if you do.
As long as you don't hope to have kids in the future, you know.
Yeah, although they don't shoot you there, I don't think. The job will essentially involve being shot at with every new batch of paintballs to ensure that health and safety checks are in place before we can use them on the general public and paying customers. What I like about that one is the general public and paying customers, which implies they're just going out randomly shooting people.
Also, that you aren't a member of the general public if you're going for this position. We're testing them on you to make sure they don't do damage to people.
To normal.
Of course, I do say well checks will be carried out by trained professionals with a wealth of experience shooting people. The role may pose a small risk of pain, discomfort, and some bruising. There have been numerous people who have applied, including one who said he was so fat, therefore be easy to hit. And this one.
Well, that's a great fucking thing to put on your CV. Why do you think you'd be good at the job? I'm fat.
Yeah. Well, one person put they were an ex-magician's assistant who was almost one shot for real in an illusion that went horribly wrong.
Well, you got the job.
So there's going to be a real struggle whittling them down to 1,000 applicants to just one, according to Mr. Tuhing. I think you should be more careful about targeting who they need.
Ha ha. Question: have you ever been shot with a paintball gun?
Yes.
Right, and you've been shot with an airsoft rifle.
Yes.
Which would you say hurts more, paintball?
Paintball.
Yeah.
Airsoft ones sting for about 30 seconds and then it's gone. Paintball. I mean, paintballs. I got shot once by a airsoft gun at about point blank range, about 6 inches away, by a friend of mine. This shows you how important gun safety is. He literally had we were in the back garden, we were shooting off all my airsoft guns. He'd finished with his airsoft gun, took the magazine out, turned it, and just pointed at me and just pulled the trigger out, realising there's still a bullet in the chamber, and he shot me at point blank range of it. I thought, this shows you how gun safety works. And it hurt, but only for a few seconds. I mean, of course, we went home and shot him back, as is the appropriate response. Of course,
the appropriate response would have been to pistol whip him.
Yeah. I was using a shotgun at the time.
That would have been fucking hilarious.
I used to have so much on my airsoft guns. I shot a cat. I remember my friend once. We were sat in the back garden having a barbecue. We sort of set the sight, and I'd had about 4 or 5 beers. And we were shooting cans out, and we knocked them off the sight. So my friend went to pick them all up, and as he had them one in the hand, I shot out of his hand the shotgun. Literally, he couldn't believe because I missed it. And of course, we did the famous experiment where he saw if a biker jacket would would not hurt airsoft, but it would diminish the effect of pain from a airsoft bullet. No. But we had to make sure, so I did empty the whole 600-round magazine into the test
also,
subject.
it didn't help that you shot me in the neck.
Well, the recoil drew the bullet gun up higher.
The thing that's funny is that we were shooting them things all day. And we were like tearing through cans and all other kinds of stuff.
And we just said, I wonder if your biking gear would stop you fearing the bullets.
Yeah,
just go stand over there.
That was gold. I'm so glad I wasn't wearing my helmet, because I'd have probably passed through the helmet. God damn.
You
shot Weasel.
Yeah, I shot Weasel, and the Weasel tried to shoot me. Then I went and stood around. I had a sniper rifle.
And then I came out the corner of the shed and shot you in the hand.
Yeah, but I didn't notice. And I just leaned out the side and shot randomly and hit him right in the shoulder.
Oh, them were the days.
Yeah. But yeah, having shot a paintball gun as well. Paintballs actually leave bruises, so yeah, I'd say airsoft is safer.
Okay. Airsoft is safer unless you're hanging out with us or some of your other mates.
Yes, indeed.
I have to get my P90 out.
Yeah, you have to.
I've still got my P90.
I've still got my P90. We've got enough.
That sounds hilarious. I've got to get my P90 out.
Got to whip it out.
I've got P90, an M4A1 carbine. I've got a AK-74 Specialized edition. I've got an MP5. If the police are listening to this, this sounds really dodgy. I've got a Skazz
I'm
12.
just going to cut this bit out.
See, this
and
is
put it
why
out.
you need to play Payday 2 with me. You'll enjoy collecting all the guns.
And shooting people
Yeah.
just for lols.
I've still got my sniper rifle was still my favorite because it's a proper bolt action one. It's brilliant. Clunk, clunk. Yeah, brilliant. Good times.
We should go get licenses from down one of the airsoft fields and then go get more guns.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah, you can do. They've got to be painted orange now, haven't they?
Unless you've got a registered membership.
Yeah, but you have to go to site. I think I did look once. I think our nearest site. There's not really a site near us. I think
There's one
they
in
use.
Norwich.
Is there one?
Yeah.
That disappeared for a while.
Oh, I don't know. It was last time I looked, it was still there. It was up there.
There was one in Norwich, but it disappeared. And last time I felt it, last one time I looked, I think there was one in Colchester.
Oh, okay.
It's the nearest one. But yeah, I've passed you, ran GoPros.
Fucking attach GoPros to all the guns and just go
Yeah.
around shooting people.
That'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
Rando's Airsoft. Just the three of us, all against everybody else.
For sure, that'd be awesome.
Team deathmatch.
We'll have like, you'll have your entire arsenal just strapped to your back.
Yeah, I would.
But you can have a handgun.
Just have a stick.
I always wanted
I'll
to
go
get.
in with a giant fucking claymore.
I always want to get. I never could quite justify the cost of it. I wasn't drunk enough to buy it. I wanted to get one of the airsoft grenade launchers.
Oh, that'd be hardcore.
And literally, they're
I
basically.
saw
it's-
those
it's-
airsoft grenades.
They're basically a canister, right? That is filled with something like 200 airsoft bullets, and you fill it with gas, and then you just aim and just shoot them. Just all 200 get fired them in one go. It's brilliant. It's like this is like the most hilarious thing. It's literally like the ultimate shotgun.
It
Brilliant.
must be done.
Must be done. Anyway, back to weird news. Psychic girlfriends. Have you ever had one? I'm assuming not, as psychic also doesn't exist. But a man has been accused of smashing up his psychic girlfriend's car after she predicted he would fantasize about his dead gran using a sex toy on him.
Well, you said psychic, not
psycho,
psycho, right?
yeah.
Psychic, yeah.
Okay.
She also didn't see it
Mind
coming.
you, psychicness generally does go hand in hand with mental
I
illness.
was gonna
Let's
say,
be
there's
fair.
there's probably some kind of issues there, man.
If you're a
Casey
psychic, you're probably
Casey Malta took exception to his Mrs. Parton's latest premonition detailed in the police form. She prophesied that his late grandmother would appear to him in a dream and commit an unusual sex act on it to him involving an adult erotic device. Police
What the
claim
fuck is wrong with that woman?
Police claim the 28-year-old could not get the image out of his head and he snapped, smashing up her 1997 Nissan Altima
She didn't see
in an
that
alleged
coming.
mission. I would have did that joke. You missed it. I'm sorry, but I got there first. Just sorry.
Clearly, I'm not psychic.
No, you're not.
Or
Right.
listen-
The thing is, though, she did have a Nissan Altima, which is a good enough reason to smash up in the first place, to be fair.
Fair point.
He is arrested on criminal misconduct mischief charge. No news of whether she's been arrested for.
Being a fuck up.
Yeah.
Mind you, you know,
Just lock her in the old
for
mental
him to
arm.
go that mad over it, he must have had something niggling in the back of his head, you know, like.
Dude, seriously? You seriously gonna go there?
Yeah.
Seriously, dude?
I was just not. On to
Dude,
He was into it. Dirty, dirty bloke.
on to Nazi news.
That's a bit of a jump.
Yeah, Nazi news.
Well, psychos to that. Yeah, all right,
That's- yeah. A Devon farmer has had to reduce his head
She's
of
a perfectly well-rounded individual.
had to reduce his head of
I've heard
heck
about this.
of heck cattle, a breed brought to life by the Nazi scientists, from 49 to 6 after they turned out to be incredibly aggressive.
So brought to life like fucking zombies.
He said they couldn't handle them. He said what the Germans did with their breeding program was create something truly primeval. The Aurochs were wild bulls. Jews recall them as being bulls as big as elephants. And there was thinking at the time that you could always say to be animals for Aryan characteristics, which were rooted in runes, folklore, and legend. So heck cattle were product of an attempt to breed using non-existing other species.
Why don't you have
including-
one of them as a mount? A Nazi
Yeah.
bull.
No, I don't think I want to go around with a Nazi bull. They include Spanish fighting bulls, Frisians, which are pretty docile, and Simmentals, which aren't pretty docile. These Hitler saw super cows are symbols of German and Aryan might and tasked latest Lean Genesis brothers Hertz and Alerts Heck to bring the Aurochs back into existence.
I'm sorry, I just had an awful thought of a matador waving as an Israeli flag at a bull. Oh dear.
We're going there.
Yeah, we're not going to move on quickly. Quickly. Landlords, you love landlords, Luke.
Yes. I
Nazi
do.
landlords especially.
Yes.
Landlords seeing compensation for house fires in Dubai have apparently been blaming their fires on supernatural beings. Owners are
Is it the same
claiming
as the Brazilian warlocks?
yes. Owners are claiming their properties are set alight by goblins or jinns in order to claim insurance money. I'm assuming. What?
It's a bit of a leap between goblins and gins, really, isn't it?
I'm assuming the owners claim insurance money, not the goblin or the jinn in that sentence.
Oh no, gins are a bit money and sort of.
Now, for
driven,
some
aren't
bizarre
they?
reason, a police fire expert has rubbished the idea as little more than a scam. I can't think why.
I was going to say, was anyone actually stupid enough to pay out?
Well, apparently their investigations suggest the fires aren't started by goblins or jinns, but did be caused by negligence.
You're an idiot.
What kind of a creature is a negligence?
Yeah. Apparently, fire experts choose to instead follow scientific methods to acquire according to specific rules.
Why don't they just ask the psychic? She'll know.
Yeah.
She clearly
She'll
knows.
just see her boyfriend's grandmother with a sex toy start
Yeah.
fires, clearly.
With the sex toy,
Yeah.
drives a tinderbox down there, mate.
He did say there have been cases in which persons tell lies and make weird claims about their genius behind the fire. Really? Yes. A
No
straightforward.
way, dude.
Well, he says
Serious?
apparently a lot of people know to deal with fire when they start, put water on it. And it's a straightforward solution would be to set up CCTV cameras in buildings. What, every building?
Ram, dude, seriously.
I just want to go gins.
People lie on insurance forms.
You wouldn't believe it. I know it's disgusting, isn't it?
What
You
do you
can't
mean people
believe it.
lie?
I have to say it, people, it's terrible.
Oh, no. Oh,
So, you know how like at Christmas time, everybody does nice things like for mainly the homeless people. So you have like sort of the sort of soup kitchens will have like perhaps do full Christmas dinners.
robbing the
perhaps
soup
get sort of-
kitchen.
Yeah, they might give out sort of like clothing and stuff and sort of benefits and stuff. Well, you know, Malaysia wants to sort of take part in this and sort of help out and give some back to the homeless community. So they sent out 2,000 invitations to disadvantaged people, a lot of them who are homeless, in the territory event. They include the open house event had 300 reservations for people sleeping rough, so they could sleep and have a good night in a room somewhere.
Yep.
So they started to give presents. Normally they give out cash, but this year they started to give presents. The presents included coffee makers, electric whisks, cooking stoves. One volunteer group said, "It's a nice gesture, although I think this gift might have been sponsored, maybe. We must understand these people don't even have a place to stay, let alone a place to operate their coffee maker or cooking stove."
Well, they could flog it for a
Yeah,
buck.
I was going to say,
50 and-
flog the thing.
Apparently, they come and ask apparently they asked the owner if they could buy them off them. I feel that the clone be more adding that food or clone be better than the gifts. The Federal Territory Minister, which I initially read as Terrorist Minister,
Fucking hell.
Tengu Adan, concedes the event wasn't perfect and that it was a trial and error experience.
Trial and error?
He says they doesn't mind
Fucking
people sell the
bellend.
gifts with money. They can do as they please. He says next year we will improve and give them something else to the homeless.
You know, like
Homes?
you know, money, clothes, food, a home.
Pretty much.
Well, some kind of structure.
Now, we've all had co-workers who like, you know, they come in, they sort of do the bare minimum to sort of get them through the day and then they go home. I mean, unfortunately, I haven't got any in my current. Fortunately, I haven't got any in my current, but I have had them in the past. I mean, I'm sure some of you must experience them in the past as well.
I have.
That co-worker who's basically a waste of space
Yeah.
and just there to earn the paycheck. And then the ones who basically just don't bother turning up, but just like getting paid for. Well, apparently this problem happens all over the world. And
Never.
recently it come to like that in India, a man has finally been fired after 24 years after failing to turn up for work.
Wait, are you saying he didn't turn up to work for
For 24 years, yes.
I was going to say, if he didn't turn up every now and then.
He was officially fired back in 1990. He was seeking extension of leave when he was not sanctioned, defied directions to report to work. Enough inquiry found him guilty of willful absence from duty in 1992. It took another 22 years and the intervention of a cabinet minister to actually remove him. So there you go. 24 years doing nothing. Sounds good to me. Apparently,
Did he still get company benefits?
well, presumably.
You know, like
That guy got it made.
Apparently, labour laws in India are very tough and very hard, and it's very hard to get rid of people. They are looking to make it easier to fire people. I'm
Well,
assuming.
what good would it have been if he weren't fucking working anyway? Or probably wasn't turning up to work anyway.
Well, I'm presuming they're still paying him. Presumably.
Oh, good.
He wasn't turning to work because he's out getting another job.
Common sense.
Right.
So rare it's a superpower.
So, police. Onto the police news. So let me give you a scenario. You have a guy who's a police officer. He's quite a modest role. You know, doesn't do anything, mate. He's sort of quite a low level officer.
Just fucking puts tickets on
Yeah,
things he
it's
doesn't
fine.
need to.
He turns up for work one day in a Ferrari worth £170,000. Are you suspicious?
Yes.
Well, you should be, because it turns out he's the leader of an organised crime gang, peddling drugs and helping to run a brothel and laundering money. He's now been jailed for 7 years and is facing 3 charges of misconduct in public office.
Good job, mate. Good job.
This was this was not in America, but in Birmingham, which makes me wonder if the Ferrari was actually paid for.
Fucking probably not, mate. They lifted that motherfucker. Did he like parking up outside the Rosas station on bricks?
Yeah, probably.
Well, even if he did park it outside the police station, it would have ended up on bricks within about 15 minutes.
He paid a fleet of flashy cars which came to 2 fake businesses. And he was using to launder money through the businesses. Most of it came through gym pin machines. Apparently.
So he turned up
at work in a Ferrari.
What a complete tosser.
For a police officer, you expect him to understand that it might be a giveaway. I mean, you could say, I won the lottery last week. Isn't that good? And then turn up in your Ferrari and say, I just want to keep working. But yeah, it's all I can assume is one morning he was going to take the little Ford Fiesta or something, but couldn't find the key. He's like, well, I need to get to work. I can't call in sick. They might raise suspicion. I'll get the Ferrari out. So apparently, so maybe he got his money from brothels and Class A drugs.
Who the fuck would want to go to a Burmese brothel?
Well,
Other Brummies.
Why?
To drink themselves into oblivion.
Just nuke the place.
And that would be the end of weird news.
That definitely was. That wasn't exactly weird. Fuck that last one was stupid. Makes me feel a little tiny bit smarter.
Good. Anyway. So you too can have your own Nazi bull mount if you simply go to a farm in Devon who's got 43 cows for sale. But don't mount the
You
Nazi
get one?
bull, that's just wrong.
You gonna get one?
I
No,
kind of want one, I have to admit.
Well,
Are we
Nazi-
gonna send him to the old
Nazi-
wildlife sanctuary with that gay ball?
Could do. Oh, no, wouldn't like that. He would not like. They would stamp that out, no problem. You go there, there'd be no animals left.
I wonder if they goose step.
The
idea
goose
appeals
trot.
to me.
A goose stepping bull.
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Why not?
Find out next week.
Tune in again for another episode of Nazi Bull. God.
Good times. Is that everything?
Yeah, I'm just going to say to your friend, he's not alone. He's got us. That'll make sense if you look at the comments.
Well, I can't see the comments. So.
Well, that's your problem, isn't it?
Can I see
Yes,
the
You
comments?
can see the comments.
Bad. What am I missing?
Nothing exciting to be fair. No.
Well, our quality control's doing a good bloody job. She's falling asleep.
Yeah. That's why we've been able to get away with so much. crap
We're all
recently.
alone inside.
I know that happy note. Let's end our first podcast of the new year. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. So where can you find us? Well, on YouTube at Round Nerds.
That's
We've
where we
got-
stream live.
Down the pub.
Yes, you're watching it now. You can find us on our
Always
website,
so.
roundnerds.com. You can find us on Google Plus at Plus Round Nerds. You can find us on Facebook at Round Nerds. You can email us, comments at roundnerds.com. Someday someone will.
I'm still waiting for
possibly.
Brian and
We'll
Warwick
see.
to email us.
Yeah, Twitter at Ryan Nerds. Yeah, but it was Christmas, mate. It might not have been chatting. They might have been keeping on top of our
Hey,
podcast.
Brian was on the radio. I was expecting him to say
That's
that
why
the
he's
next
on the
thing
radio.
He was on TV at Christmas, wasn't he?
He
Dressed
should.
as
That's
Santa.
why he's not listening to the podcast. He's on the radio and TV. He's a busy man. He's a busy man.
On Christmas Eve, he was on one of the stations doing an entire night's Christmas show.
Brian,
Remembering all about Christmas, dressed as
why
Santa.
aren't you listening, Brian?
He's always listening.
Like always listening.
One of the listeners is us suggesting we get the Nazi bulls involved in Space Barbarian in some way. Perhaps they could be Carl Pilkington's minions.
There should be a planet of Nazi bulls, and he fights them.
Yeah.
And
What a
changes
great
them
idea.
from being Nazi bulls to being barbarian bulls.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for watching. We look forward to seeing you in a fortnight's time.
We do.
So, once again, hope you had a good Christmas, New Year. Hope you didn't get too drunk. I couldn't. Luke doesn't drink. I'm sure Bar did.
Very, 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 very drunk.
Good, man.
Drank enough.
I couldn't drink because I've got dependents now. To
Yeah.
look after.
Bless you.
Yeah.
I had to be dragged home by a friend. It was that good.
When you say dragged home, do you mean literally?
Literally.
Like on the ground.
Like,
I
it was,
fucking had him dragged.
Most people would have called a taxi. But
Bard's lot, dragging him by his
no,
shoes.
it's just drag him home, throw him in the house. That's
Fucking
fine.
drag him by his sandals.
perfect. So very much. See you all next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Ding.
Do it.
Oh, I had something in my eye the whole end of that podcast.